Everyone, Temporal here, and for this session we are going to be reviewing the matchup that happened earlier today between American Tornado and Vita Ramen Revival. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps me out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate it. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, all that good stuff. And with that, let's begin the match here.
Yeah, it looks like Revival going to be sticking it to that rush style, and you're going to be seeing
Okay, so nothing too wild here. Running mirror comps. We saw the sim for the quick TP there, but in actuality, we are running mirror comps here. So nothing crazy. We're seeing they both went courtyard. That is correct and standard when they are expecting brawl mirrors. If they were expecting that one team or the other, based on their scouting reports, might come out with something pokey, something like double bubble, you'd potentially see them rotate through opposite coast side with their brawl comp so that they'd take less spam as they came on, as they rotated effectively. Yes, they have to push through some spam at the end there, but given that this is Brawl v Brawl, nothing too wild here.
Tornado matching the.
Okay, we see this. We've done this. Looks like American Tornado gotten a little faster with theirs. And let's see what we do in terms of angles. I am surprised that we are seeing American Tornado stack quite so tightly right here. I wonder if we are about to see them throw an off-speed pitch right at the beginning to just sort of try to run over something, to just try to run over the Reinhardt, etc., as opposed to the more standard, let's spread out, let's do our poke damage, let's force people back in, etc. So a little surprised to see that to start, but if they're starting with an off-speed pitch to give Revival the wrong feel for how they're going to play, that's fine. Or if they're going to play like that a lot, that's fine with me too, if they're good at it.
So no double bubble coming out today.
Let's watch our walls one more time there.
Tornado matching
that happens.
So no double bubble.
We see that Speedily has taken the off angle, the only one to have really taken the off angle, and that's away from point in order to look for this wall here. And he hits one, but it's not a super useful wall. Like that wall, honestly, it would stop them from spreading if Revival was setting up their concave, but Revival was mostly shifted to the right. It looks like Revival did get the better wall to start things off here. This is a slightly more meaningful split that they got here. So, you know, that's assuming everyone plays it equally from here. That is a nice start for them.
Today, Revival looked like they could.
I'm sorry, who's going in there?
Matching them on it. So no double.
Lep, what are you doing, buddy? Oh, Lep had the concave over here. Okay, that's fine. No, I'm going to demand more quality than that. I am. Okay, so Lep was in fact on the angle. They did get this better wall. You see, it got them a pretty big advantage in terms of Rein health, and that's what the slightly better wall did, as well as the better concave. Even if it was just Lep, they had a little bit more damage spread to the left there that they were able to take advantage of, and it wasn't walled off at all. Okay. Not quite enough to force out an actual another cooldown that really matters in the form of like a ice block that I noticed or a lamp. Definitely didn't see a lamp, but let's see if they're able to do more with it. And then, oh no. Forced a good lead on Reiner there. But Speedily then stays in there, and Speedily does finish the freeze. That shouldn't really have happened here. So as we look at this, yes, this is the first fight. I'm spending a lot of time on the first fight. I'll go a little faster, I promise. Speedily's there spraying. Okay. And then they had False go for the nice boot play. So this is it. So you see that they went ahead here, and by they, I mean Revival went ahead at the start of this fight, and it was pretty solid in terms of they got that Reinhardt health lead, and that's big. But part of why they got their Reinhardt health lead is this is a trick that False and I actually went over years ago, believe it or not, back in the GOATS era, but False came in from the edge here with a boop to knock LH Cloudy deeper into his team, away from the team that he's on and into his team so that his team gets to do a lot of damage to them. D.Va's posting on off angles like this and then using their boops to either knock the Reinhardt in or out is huge. And you might go, hey, Temporal, that's not in. That's definitely in this situation. He's knocking him away from his he is knocking the LH Cloudy away from Cloudy's team, and he is knocking him generally towards where his team is threatening from. So this is a very good offensive boop here. And D.Va can kind of get away with that. You have to make sure you don't get frozen. But instead of committing boosters defensively here, this is a nice aggressive use of boosters.
Already caught up, taking a lot of heat.
Oh, playing this so quickly already here.
And then by doing that, I mean, sorry, I'm going too slow here, I know, but it's so much fun. So they go for that, and this basically equalizes what they'd done in terms of it lets them finish off that freeze on Cloudy, and Cloudy getting frozen is enough to make Revival have to spend their lamp first. So Revival got the slightly better wall, got the moderately better wall, but then False got that good offensive boop, which allowed them to finish their freeze here from Speedily on Cloudy and get the lamp out of Revival. That said, OG has taken some serious damage here. Reiner hasn't exactly been healed back up. We are going to see the answering lamp come right back out here, but it is still going to be a later lamp. So there's about a 1.5, 2 second advantage. So obviously the speeds at which the lamps get destroyed will matter, but in theory, this is still an advantage for words are hard here. I'm tracking my fight. I swear, guys. I probably shouldn't start these. For American Tornado, because they got the lamp out first. Oh, I didn't mean to lose my volume there. Please give me my volume back.
Both of these teams and trying to dive right onto this point. You already see.
And then they're both going for a stabilize because neither of them really like how that traded out. Neither of them truly feel like they're ahead. That's fair. Then we have the next wall goes up. Looks like first from Speedily, American Tornado here, and this should be the punish. Even if a counter wall goes out, at this point there will be no lamps to save people, and Cloudy and Icy are just too far behind.
Damage though, now trying to brawl it out thanks to Speedly's wall though. Being able to isolate Cloudy, this puts things on board for American Tornado to have that advantage. Revival's already going to go for that reset, and Tornado, they're going to take that point advantage first.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see
Nothing too wild there. That was an interesting first fight. I'm going to spend a lot of time in general on first fights, guys, because ults aren't in play there, and it really highlights how well the teams understand the neutral, what they're doing, what's in their kit of plays. You get to see things like, hey, has American Tornado practiced the offensive D.Va boop? Things like that, which are awesome. Okay. This is fine. This is something that we do here. Let's take a look here. Throw out the window. The window helps you. That's okay. I mean, it's a good window in that it threatens two different sight lines. It's threatening both. The window works for poking at them as they're rotating, and if they try to rotate past here and actually push up here, it threatens enough of this lane that they still get to push through it too. There's a little bit of space that they could hide in, or they could just rotate past and wait on this side, so in the other side of the room, and then push up after the window's over. But as far as windows go, it's okay. I would have probably preferred that they hold the window and use the window more of like a here type space after the team was partially committed to the push. I don't mind if they then hard commit and get past the window some. They're going to get chunked down so hard for it, and it's going to be hard for them to back out when they're like here. Like even trying to back out, they're more likely to lose someone than I think they are with this. But this isn't bad. This is only slightly worse in my mind.
We weren't expecting this meta. We weren't ready for it, but we adapted, and it seems like in the last week or so they've gotten even better at it.
With this.
Yeah, neutral, generally in Overwatch, neutral is going to refer to the fights where no one has ults available to use. So, yeah, the first fight is a neutral fight because no one has any ults. That's what it refers to. It'll still get used. It's not a strictly equal thing because, like, Defender's team will frequently have an advantage on different types of maps, etc. And sometimes you'll call it a neutral fight when there's no ults available, even if an ult becomes available midway through the fight. But the neutral is basically referring to the non-ult game.
Matrix, though, they're going to try to wait it out. They're going to be able to rotate right down through this back room here to meet up with American Tornado. Speedily already coming out.
Let's see these walls again. So we had the reasonable window, but ultimately we see we didn't get anything off of that window, and that was the concern. Lep is able to get everyone in there in time. Good. So that wall doesn't actually do anything. So this is looking good for Revival. And then we see a stun from what? Oh, the flashbang. Are they going to instantly get the deletion before the ice block can go off, or are we going to force a lamp? Nope, didn't get the deletion before that went off. And now Revival hits their own wall, which will get some value. So this was quite a bit delayed for the second wall. There was like a good 3 second, 2.5 second time difference. So the next walls, if they both live long enough to get to next walls, there's going to be a fair amount of time differential where if this wall doesn't get enough value, Speedily will have another wall chance and a relatively unpressured another wall chance to get a wall off before Nos is able to answer. That said, I'm not convinced that this wall isn't going to get value. Then we see the flash come through on Reiner, so we've seen lots of flash value here so far. We have our lamps coming out. And we have Revival cashing in hard on this fight. I'm not really a fan of the high noon plus window from the same direction right on top of each other. Like, I'm not super a fan of this. On the other hand, what are we looking at? Pascal is in his lamp right now, so he's not in quite as much danger as it looks like. I'm not hugely a fan of this window plus high noon thing, and they are going hard for this. I think this is the right fight for them to go hard for. They got in, they got window out of the other team without losing it. They got the better window. This is a good fight to go hard on. Let's see what we can get from here. There's the DM, but False didn't really have any DM left because he'd been trying to finish off Pascal there. Doesn't really have DM left to cover what's left in terms of this window and this high noon. Wow. Here you are. You've got no DM left, False. Literally, like, using DM the instant you get it. And it's just enough for, it is literally just enough for Hydron to take down the lamp. You have no DM here. The window is still up. And Seeker goes down. Before that gets pulled and really does the job. Okay. I mean, yeah, they didn't take down the lamp in time. Revival needed to be putting more pressure on this lamp. You see this lamp is still up here with about 32 health, something in that realm, and that's the difference. Like, there was time. Seeker was not covered by DM. He had a window in front of him. There was plenty to do here. But just we're not able to get quite enough damage to break this lamp in time, because that would have been the team fight right there. Like 100% that would have been the team fight. And it looks like some of what's going wrong here is Nos was a little too focused on freezing the Reinhardt as opposed to breaking the lamp. And freezing the Reinhardt is good. It potentially means, oh, it's frozen, so now a less charged high noon will take care of things. But we have the window plus the high noon. We don't need a fully charged high noon. Like, we have plenty of damage to chew through shield, to do all this stuff, to take this down. So this is just target misprioritization. I suppose I should open my notepad and start taking notes on these teams as if I'm doing a scouting report. I'm not really, but hey. AT and Revival. And we see over for AT, we had good offensive boop. Boop, play, D.Va. And then over on Revival, we have a bit of a target focus issue. Lamp. Do I want to comment on the windows? No, the windows were okay. Go, right. And that's everything. I mean, False probably saves his mech here, even though it's 42 HP left. Nope, doesn't save his mech, but it doesn't matter because they're going to clean this up. Why the Blizzard, though? You already won this. You already won this, Speedily. And you knew you'd already won this. As soon as you denied the high noon window elimination, as soon as the target focus didn't get rid of the lamp because Speedily didn't take down the lamp, or was it Speedily? No, it was, excuse me, it was Nos didn't take down the lamp. You knew that that was a one fight for you guys. So I don't like investing your single best ultimate in an already one fight.
That mark, and now American Tornado, they're starting out really.
What would you name your team if you were to make one? Ooh, that is a good question. So what I would name my team if I were to make one is I would go shop for sponsors, and I would shop for sponsors in slightly different industries than most people have in the past. In part because, you know, assuming we're talking contenders, the contenders world is pretty limited in the areas that you can go to sponsors for, but you can do stuff like these guys did where, you know, hey, they went and got a name sponsor like this. And what you're really asking me is what would I do for this part of the name? But I'm pretty flexible. If I can get good sponsorship for this part of the name, this can temporarily be the whole name over here. And I don't care as much about this part. I care a little bit because it's good for brand power, your ability to pivot off of a sponsor to a new one, to renew with a different sponsor, etc. in later years and still keep brand power. So I don't know, but the cheeky answer to your question is I would go to industries that haven't been tapped well for sponsorships that I think I could talk into sponsorship money, because that's really what you do with an esport organization. Big head besties, I would name mine. Okay.
Really strong so far within this first round. It's another reset for Revival and a team wipe from American Tornado.
Yeah, you can see Seeker struggling a lot more this time around to get the value that we saw.
No, Seeker wasn't struggling to get the value. Seeker did exactly what he was supposed to. This was the team not taking down the lamp, and the team have people there that can finish off that lamp. Yeah. Yeah, that's disappointing.
I mean, right now he's just throwing that Deadeye out.
Cloudy did ultimately take down the lamp, which was good, but he did it with the fire strike, yeah.
Of course he's going to get DM'd, and of course they're just going to completely throw everything at.
Ooh, I don't know if I could do that one. That could be tough. But if the money's good enough.
Him and the kitchen sink along with it, right? I mean, every single resource is going to be invested into taking Seeker out of the equation.
I guess that just becomes leverage.
Doing something like that in the middle.
Okay, so they're going for this rotation again. They have, they got that with Seeker on the off angle.
Resource is going to be invested into taking Seeker out of the equation when he's doing something like that in the middle of the fight.
I want to know where Seeker was.
Guys, you have to get into that positioning right there.
Where was Seeker? Okay, he was rotating with the team. That shouldn't happen.
In the middle of the
This just should not happen.
every single resource is going to
Seeker's rotating with the team. This isn't a case of Seeker, you know, late peeked over here while his team went this way. Seeker snuck over here. That would be like, oh, okay, that happens. That's a good play. This is just a case of Ultraviolet got caught when he shouldn't have. Like, that's all that this is.
be invested into taking Seeker out of the equation when he's doing something like that in the middle of the fight.
Guys, you have to get into that positioning right there, but I like these first picks coming in. Finding Ultraviolet was very crucial there because he could have built into that Ant Matrix, but OG's right there to help out the sustainability for the rest of American Tornado. The Blizzard, though, is going to create a lot of that space. Speedly's going to fall through.
I mean, you can't lose this fight, Revival.
The rest of Tornado still have OG right there to help that sustainability. Not anymore, but Ultraviolet is going to swap with him into the sustainability, utilizing that immortality.
It was a way closer fight than it should have been given the early. Okay, I need to review this because you should not be in a close fight right here. They, considering that American Tornado overinvested their Blizzard, like, yes, they have ult advantage, but they overinvested their Blizzard last time, and they lose their huge source of healing, like their only real source of healing. Yes, they get to sustain a little bit because they have beat, so that's an extra source of healing, but this should not be close. This should basically be over. Like, yes, American Tornado has 4 ults that they can use, whereas Revival really only has 2, but that third is basically right there, and that fourth isn't exactly far either. Like, this shouldn't really be close. Do they get good shatter value? They get okay shatter, it looks like. But how do those Mei walls trade out? So that happens. Yeah, you hit 1 with the Shatter, but there's no way you can follow up on your Shatter. Oh, but Icy is committing on that off-angled McCree. We don't need to do that because our team can't push. This is off-timed aggression. Icy shouldn't yet be committing on this McCree over here because Icy well, it's good for Icy to push this McCree. That's just fine. I have no issue with Icy pushing the off-angling McCree. Your D.Va pushing someone is basically a time window where it's like my D.Va can push this person out while my team fights type thing. My D.Va doesn't want to be pushing this person out while the rest of my team is just absorbing damage, just playing passive. Because if they do that, the rest of this team is going to go, oh, well, we will support our McCree and we will shoot at your D.Va. Like, that's not really great. So D.Va can only go challenge people alone like that if her team is fighting at the same time, or she's challenging them in a place where she's going to get supported by her BAP. Not going to happen right now. BAP is on the ground. So this isn't great. Or she's channeling them in like an off angle where neither team can see type thing. Or her team can see her, but these guys' team can't see them. Like on an aggressive off angle, if Seeker was back here, for example, absolutely go challenge him right now. Sorry, that's not Seeker. It's Hydron? Am I being foolish because Hydron now goes down here? Oh, it's the high noon. That's why the challenge happens. That's fair. I'm overreacting. So this happens. Okay, I hadn't heard the high noon sound cue. My bad. So pushing because the high noon sound cue is up. The damage is going at them. May even get the follow-up. And Seeker is pushing him too. That's fair, actually. That is fair. Seeker is pushing with him. And the high noon is going off, so he is not going to get away. You'll get him. And they do. Okay, so now they've gone up 2. And while their positioning is super spread out... That is off topic. Could Torb replace McCree in Rush Comp? So the issue that you run into is McCree actually hybridizes Brawl enough to give it a meaningful poke phase. So it's not completely helpless against poke dive, against poke, things like that. Like, it has enough ability to actually put out the poke damage to check people. If you're running like full Brawl, you might be running May Reaper, for example. But you never actually see teams run that because you want to have a little bit of a poke phase. Like, if you were truly running full Brawl, you could argue that you'd be going, no, we're going to run May, Reaper, Reinhardt, Zarya, Lucio, Moira, or something like that. And that would be like full brawly type thing, etc., all that. But that's not what you actually want to do. You want to have... Brawl actually has a poke phase, and even though we call it Brawl, it is hybridized, at least the current iteration of it is hybridized a little bit towards poke, and that matters, and Torb can't do that as well. Torb is not forcing Pharahs to leave while his team then pushes the dive or poke team's core. You know, he's not going... Torb is not able to go, okay, our team is here. The defending team has an Orisa right here, a Pharah right here, maybe a BAP with their Pharah, and we'll also give them an Ashe over here. McCree has the ability to go, we're Rein shielding in this direction. McCree forces the Pharah by shooting at her, the pocketed Pharah, to go behind cover, and then while she's healing up for 2 seconds, this team can push onto this, or push onto this, or do things like that, or maybe push onto this where their Pharah pushes, while their D.Va pushes out this, or push onto this while their D.Va pushes out this. That you can do when you have a McCree. Not having any poke phase really takes away your ability to do that, and the other thing it lets them do is it lets, again, Torb has something. Torb is okay against dive. Torb is much less good against poke. So you could say, oh, well, you also want your poke in your Brawl comp to be able to not let dive teams stage around you for free, which McCree helps with, and Torb also helps with, but Torb is much less good against that Pharah Ashe comp, that Echo, the Echo Hanzo comp, you know, those types of things where you're looking, going, I don't really want to be playing Torb instead of McCree into that. Okay, so they took that down. Why is this close? They went up 2.
But I like these first picks coming in. Finding Ultraviolet was very crucial.
Oji, why do you think your team is in this? Are you really going to invest beat to get... So you got Reiner... Reiner depends because why not? And he gets 1. So now they're only down 1. And the one he gets is big and taking out McCree, don't get me wrong. But it's not like you counter-took out BAP. You counter-took out McCree. And that's not as big a deal as taking out the BAP. This BAP difference, even though it's only a one-person difference, it should still be a pretty meaningful loss for you guys. I wouldn't have wanted to see the beat come out here, but it's definitely not a throw. Especially if they are confident in their standard play. They have more tricks up their sleeve. They're not going to have another wall come up. Are they just going to stack a stupid number of ults? But you don't have enough ults to just hard win anymore. So they do this. They do go ahead and hit their beat. And they hit beat and self-destruct at the same time, so there's a mistake. They're both doing, hey, let's clear stuff. They're both doing, let's invest all of our ults into this. So I don't like this from American Tornado. Takes out the lamp, no big deal. And then we have the Blizzard coming out from NOS, which is a perfectly reasonable investment, especially when American Tornado just spent all their ults. Lep. Lep. Okay. Yeah, Icy was missing some health, but let me see exactly. Was Icy in enough trouble to justify that? No, Lep is doing it for himself. Okay, that's fair. Icy's low health. Lep is lower health than I thought here. I don't know who's on Lep right now, but Lep is doing it to save himself, and saving himself is right here. They don't want to now lose this, and it's totally fine to invest another ult now that they have what are you calling it? I don't need him to hold this beat for the sake of traveling back to spawn with it. Using this beat is totally fine with the amount of ults that AT invested. And Icy's missing a lot of health too, so it's not like bad. It's not great because it's not a very many person beat, but it's reasonable. NOS? We just walled Cloudy out. NOS! Jeez. Okay, so yeah, that's okay. I don't love it, but that's okay. Ult use wasn't amazing for either team there, but AT just definitely had the over-investment. Second fight. Li Zhang. Yeah, that's definitely concerning.
Oh, NOS might have actually saved them there, taking out Hydra.
It wasn't like super bad, but that was an overinvestment for a fight that was going to be, they weren't likely to win by overinvesting it. Was there a chance? Absolutely. Was there a greater than 20% chance? Sure, but
bridge and find a pick. If Hydron would have won that duel, that would have been the in route for sure for the team with 79% already on their scoreboard.
Okay.
Their way over to White Room, going to take that 1-to-1 contest and definitely
pushing through White Room. That's fine. What do we have in terms of defending ults for Revival here? They do have the slightly worse economy, and that all that they have is Shatter. They're coming up on High Noon and Window. Window would be nice for this, but they don't have it. Shatter's probably a little too obvious, even from Cloudy. It was quite the Reinhardt. Whereas pushing in over here, they have the Shatter Tamir, but they also have their Window. Okay. I mean, you know, Shatter Wars are interesting, but nothing special I want to talk about here other than you could do some boop or chain boop plays with like Lucio plus D.Va to chain boop to shatter a backline type thing.
Is going to be incredibly important.
They're letting them in, which lets me think that they have a play in mind. Why did you let them in so hard? Are you waiting for someone to come back?
press, and definitely look
No, everyone's
for the
there.
walls here. The usage
You're
of
just deciding that
the
you want to play the
base
full
of
concave
it
with
is going to be
with
incredibly
the
important if you're
obstacle in the middle, your full concave to play around that with that being your cover. Um, that's in respect to the shatter. You don't want to play your Rhine on one side of the choke because of that. I disagree. Yeah, I disagree. Like, yes, there is some threat of, hey, speedily can potentially hit the wall here and kind of stick your Rhine a little bit if your Rhine's holding a corner. So I can get it. I can respect it playing back here.
catch one of these Reinhardt.
The first wall comes from speedily, but I think this wall is meaningfully enough better. Usually the first meaningful wall, it doesn't have to be a perfect wall. This wall behind Reiner might be a perfect wall, but usually speaking, the first meaningful wall, and meaningful wall means it's going to take more than one person, more than a second to deal with it. They might jump over it, they might ride around it, they might break it down, but a wall that delays doesn't have to be a perfect 1-5 split, but delays part of the team for even just 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, 1 3/4 of a second is a perfectly valid wall in the Brawlmere. And I would say that you could mostly say that Speedily's wall did that here. It wasn't amazing because it's while his team is rotating, but you do have to do some of that stuff. This wall from Nas is much better, but he also had a much easier setup.
Out.
And Speedily was probably trying, what Speedily wanted to do is Speedily wanted that wall to actually go up right in front of Nos to block Nos out. Because if your wall blocks the other Mei is going to be more delayed in getting her wall out. And that makes a pretty big difference. But Nos either Speedily aimed wrong, or Nos was just barely able to run forward onto the wall as it was rising to get on top, and then had an easy wall angle. And this should give them a meaningful advantage. They broke that wall pretty quickly, but it's even though they broke that wall pretty quickly, they're now having to invest False's DM into protecting Reiner here.
Those walls coming forward to just try to block in those entryways, and also.
And we see that Reiner's quite a bit behind on shield because he had to rotate in through here, and then he got walled off.
Force out a rotation here.
Which, if he doesn't get to stabilize, which he might, that'll make the shatter game a lot harder for him as opposed to Cloudy. Though he's getting a fair bit back here. And then what forced out the lamp here? Why? UV, are you just lamping to cover your window? Where's your window? Where is your window? I think that's just a lamp to cover your window, but I don't know where your window is. You shouldn't have fallen for that. Get stunned out by the Kree, nice. And then we have the mirror play, and this mirror play is happening later, and it's probably going to be higher value, and it's the same window lamp play. With the Deadeye too. Ugh. I'm still not a fan of stacking the... Like, you don't need more damage. You need different angles when you're talking about window plus Deadeye. You do not need to go, ooh, Deadeye through a window. That's really not all that strong. Your window is plenty of damage. Your Deadeye is plenty of threat for making them flee from a sightline. You don't need them going from the same direction.
Seeker, Hydron's still building up into his, and unfortunately... Cloudy.
I would even rather they go one, and then as the first one is expiring, the second. I just don't like stacking those.
He's gonna utilize that shatter, but isn't gonna find anyone from Tornado as Reiner's shield. Cloudy, he's gonna.
Okay, we see what's going on here. We know that Revival used the later lamp plus window, plus High Noon actually. They're going here. They've got the nice stun on Reiner, but from the play, these little short flanks happen. I've seen a couple teams do this now, where they do these little short McCree flanks, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I don't have some huge issue with that. Maybe that shouldn't have gone past false, but it happened, and it certainly does put your McCree in some level of vulnerability, because Reinhardt, we see Reinhardt isn't over here as this McCree is doing this, and this isn't like off-angling with a bit of distance as your protection. This is a short-range off-angle. You see this happen around physical objects sometimes. So that's fine. We've got that happening. Nos is going for this. I just don't know. Even though Reiner got chipped down a bunch of shield earlier, I think Reiner has pretty decent shield remaining at this point, a third or half shield. So you're not going to be able to instantly delete him. You'll take him if he's here, but I just don't think the team, unless like everyone on Revival is right behind Nos, I don't think the team is actually going to be able to burst Reiner down during this. So I'm really not convinced that the risk involved in this play made sense, unless literally the whole team is right behind Nos right now. And I don't think that was based on what we saw earlier.
Shatter, but is
Oh, okay. Well, Seeker did it himself. Fine. I'm surprised. False must have just been totally out of DM there.
find anyone from Tornado as
Or, you know, maybe False just missed it. Like,
unfortunately
let's take a
Cloudy,
look.
He's gonna utilize that shatter, but
Yeah, that shouldn't have happened. And now this is a free Blizzard. Like, this is a free Blizzard because False just boosted away. It's not totally free. It could be a bait that there's going to instantly be a turnaround to eat it.
find anyone from Tornado
There it is.
as Reiner's shield was
Okay, there's the Blizzard. But they traded that back, and they traded that surprisingly well. We don't really know what happened over there, what American Tornado got done. We can see it in the feed that Cloudy and Seeker went down, and we know that OG and Hydron and even... Oh, they were shattered. Okay, so we just didn't really get to see that that shatter had happened over there. Okay, so there was a shatter that they're cleaning up over there. And okay, that's fair.
gonna be able to go up there, but the Blizzard instead gonna try to catch speedily off guard. The wall came out.
Okay, but you don't have any cooldowns to survive this.
But still, there was
Oh, but you get out. Nice.
So I'm also being able to rotate a catch speedily right there, and this is gonna go in
Mm-hmm.
favor of Revival if they manage to clean up the point right here.
What?
Catch speedily right there, and
Why are you guys not pushing harder off of this? Like, you have beat. If you guys are pushing
favor
with beat, that's fine, but your D.Va just came out. Your D.Va just left with
of
boosters.
Revival.
You're just using a bunch of DM, and now it's like, it looks like Nos is ready to push,
Clean up the point.
and then as beat is going off, like, yeah, there's a little bit of boopage going on here.
Though, that is gonna buy some of that time, but Revival if they manage to clean up the
Okay, so that's the boop coming in from OG. It's got to be.
sound barrier,
And then you're just too late on the wall.
though.
Unfortunate, because
Some of that time, but
the
was
wall
it
gets no
necessary?
value.
I think it actually was. I mean, the fact that they didn't kill Ultraviolet there on the side means that they had to force that cooldown out, and
They held it,
something they wanted, but it was
and Cloudy coming back got the OG elimination, though we traded Lucio's. Okay.
that was necessary because they
And Revival held it throughout all of that. So that was a super messy fight. It was a super messy fight. Lots of volts traded back and forth. Definitely saw some mistakes, but that, you know, was something that, you know, messy fight definitely saw some mistakes, but ultimately Revival held on to it there. Cool.
didn't get
Unpause.
that kill converted.
Icy, you okay?
Something they wanted, but it was something that was necessary
I don't really like that DM usage at all.
because, and it's not something they wanted, but it was something
Why? Why are you DMing here, Icy? You don't need to open this angle at all.
that was
You don't need to open this angle at all. You don't put meaningful poke into this. Like, what are you doing?
necessary because
No. No, please don't.
they didn't get
Good wall,
that kill.
but why are you still on Mei? Like, you got the ice block out. That's perfect. That's great. You used ice wall, and in exchange, you got ice block out, and you got boosters. You got ice block, and you got boosters. And now that you've got ice block, you can immediately switch over to shooting at the D.Va.
Kill converted.
That is a long time. That is long. I see. Bad DM scouting. That's got to be what that was, scouting. And then slow target swap. Off ice block. Okay. the whole team should be on D.Va right now because they control the Mei wall. Yes, the Mei wall will be broken through in about the next second or so, probably 3/4 of a second, but they control the Mei wall. They can totally afford to be putting freeze pressure and damage pressure on False right now. And if Nos on ice blocks, they just immediately pivot back. They don't have to chase the D.Va. They can just casually shoot False from here. Why?
On Ultraviolet, and now
And then more DM there? Yuck.
they have to hold out again in this long extended
I see. What was that?
fight.
Especially looking at American Tornado's ult economy right
What was False's play there?
now. They're gonna
Again in this long extended fight.
especially looking at American Tornado's
On Ultraviolet, and now they have to hold out again in this long.
I'm honestly not totally sure where False was going initially in the first place.
Because they didn't get that kill.
False does get frozen, which is good. Like, Nos does a better job of swapping targets than Icy does. Is False just trying to hard carry this fight back, thinking that he can go force a fight against Pascal? Does False think he can, like, 1v1 Pascal because he has a second life in self-destruct? Like, you're good, False, but so is Pascal, and Pascal's not actually going to be alone. That's really weird. I'm not sure what's going on there. That's a bad dive. I have to imagine it's a thought of no, it'll be fine, or maybe it was just going to be a no, I can hit a great self. It's probably a belief that he can hit a great self-destruct there, but that's an ill-informed belief because you're going to get some freeze on you, and getting some freeze on you does mess with your speed, with your boosters and everything. And there was no way that Nos wasn't going to get some freeze on you unless you took a very different angle for this approach. So you were not going to be able to get the self-destruct that you think that this team wouldn't be able to flee from, etc. Yeah, it has to have been a self-destruct, but you didn't factor Nos in there.
Ultraviolet, and now they have to hold out again in this long extended fight.
especially looking at American Tornado's ult economy right now. They're gonna be able to throw everything right here. The sound barrier as well. Tornado's ult economy.
They have to hold out again.
Okay, that's fine, but like, they got boosters, they got ice block. This is fine. Now we're gonna have to deal with a Mei wall coming from American Tornado, and American Tornado is bailing themselves out with self-destruct, which basically gets them back boosters, as well as being a threat of its own, and Blizzard. And Revival has already used their lamp. That probably shouldn't have been necessary. False probably did force that lamp with his first life here before getting frozen, and that shouldn't really have happened. Okay. And then we're looking at a case of they've got lamp out already. Now we see self-destruct, and they're going to just be able to overwhelm you with ults because of how the ult economy worked out. Yeah, sometimes that's a cost for you. Okay.
Again in this long extended fight.
Especially looking at American Tornado's ult economy right now. They're gonna be able to throw everything.
And they do just throw everything. They literally just go beat window, Blizzard. I actually like the Blizzard plus self-destruct here because it really did make where do you go a bit challenging. I don't like also using the window and the cell and the lamp, or the window and the beat. AT still has lamp, I believe, so you don't really need either of those. If you were to use one, it would probably be window.
Right here, the sound barrier as well to help with the engage.
It's okay, Revival. Revival's got one more fight. Just don't invest ults. Okay.
From that Blizzard overtime on board, but American Tornado, they were able to flip this in the front, but they utilized so much of their ultimates.
All they've got is High Noon.
I think you're looking at a completely different
No.
outcome there if they actually wind up killing Ultraviolet on the side before he gets his lamp down. I think they don't have to invest lamps, or sorry, leps sound barrier at that stage, and you can kind of get away with a.
Did you see something I didn't, Announcer? What fight were you watching? Like, I do see that those ults got used, and I don't like it, but I just don't know where that they got used. I see that.
On Ultraviolet, and now they have to hold out again in this long. because they didn't get
So
that
yeah.
kill confirmed.
That was okay. So that was Lep's beat back in the previous fight that we're talking about, and now Pascal is investing his window here, which is totally reasonable.
Especially
Again, it's a mistake that Lamp had to be used,
looking at
and the window is answered by
Tornadoes
4
whole
ults here,
economy right
which
now.
whatever.
They're able to throw everything right here. The sound barrier as well to help with the engage, the amp as well too. Revival, they're falling through, and
This is still messy
speedily
ult
now
usage.
with a follow from that Blizzard overtime on board. But American Tornado, they were able to flip this in the favor. But
Like if Revival can drag this fight on at all, they're going to have better ults, but they do have to drag the fight on a little bit to get that self-destruct, to get that High Noon, to get that Blizzard.
they utilize so much of their ultimates just to take that point.
I think you're looking at a completely different outcome there if they actually wind up killing Ultraviolet on the side before he gets his lamp down. I think they don't have to invest Leps down barrier at that stage, and you can kind of get away with a little bit more, extending that fight out in your favor. Now you have to take
This is a meaningful wall, but you're not going to punish the Rhine during it because it's for the High Noon.
head on where not going to
You answer with your own High Noon, which gets to pre-charge a little.
from the Deadeye, perhaps.
Or at least try to
Huh.
put in some of that aggression right there, man.
Okay. We're balanced on walls effectively.
Over the
We're balanced on High Noons. So now it should be... This should just be a case of, in the next 5 or 6 seconds, we'll have another wall out from Speedily, and that'll be the next real advantage that'll come up, except that before then we could see Self-Destruct come up, and about when that comes up, we could see Blizzard coming up for Nos. So now we're just in, can we get cheeky neutral plays like, without walls. So cheeky neutral plays like what we saw earlier in terms of, hey, the McCree goes around and flashes for a moment while his team pushes from here type stuff. Can we do cheeky boop stuff that we saw? Like, okay, there's a boop from the D.Va to boop the Reinhardt in type things, or a boop from the Lucio to boop Reinhardt in. So let's see.
May wall as well. The overtime's on board.
That's exactly what we're going to see. Seeker again. I believe it was Seeker the first time.
For both of these teams, Seeker just trying to tack on some more
Seeker likes these little short flanks.
that
Okay.
extra pressure.
Likes them more than I do, to be perfectly honest, because I'm not as convinced as he is that he's going to get value.
The overtime's on board.
Like, this is a real play, don't get me wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this play. I just have less belief than he does that he's going to get the elimination at this point, even if he does hit the flash. But, it can still pull a disproportionate amount of resource answer of, okay, we just have to hold DM for the next second and a half.
Teams, Seeker just trying to tack
Mm-hmm.
on some more of that extra
Got both lamps out, but Revivals came out first. I like the May flank. I do. And we have Blizzard.
from both these teams to help that sustain
Blizzard got out.
ability, but
And there's the self-destruct where? Is that a sustained self-destruct, or do you actually get to throw it?
From both these teams
No, that's a sustained self-destruct.
to help that sustainability, but Icy now gonna be able to reset that mech with the D.Va
Excuse me?
teams to help that sustainability, but Icy
This happened.
now gonna be able to reset
Nos is not quite able to get the elimination there.
with the D.Va bomb. Get right.
They kited the Blizzard effectively.
Icy now gonna be able to reset that mech
And the self-destruct and the pillars between it. Interesting.
with the D.Va bomb. Get right into it, but they've lost Pascal, and that's gonna be a big deal here because
Yeah, I mean, losing the BAP is absolutely huge, and those were their ults. That was their place to win it. Now American Tornado is going to win on this next tempo.
sustainability is gonna
Yep.
go in advantage of American Tornado. The Shatter, though, not gonna find anyone who does find left, though. The follow-up, although doesn't get the pin, Ultraviolet does manage to take him out of the fight, and now American Tornado, they've cleaned up Revival.
How did they kite that?
Big deal. Reset that mech with the D.Va.
Did they just not have tools? Is this just a case of they didn't get amp? Is this just a case of OG held on to amp and went, no, I refuse to spend it, while Lep didn't have his?
More of that extra
So here we are. It looks like we got Speedily's ice block already. There's both lamps.
backlash, the immortality.
False is spending DM there.
From both these teams,
Icy goes for the self-destruct. We go for the Blizzard. Yeah, it looks like...
sustainability, but Icy now
Huh.
gonna be able to reset that.
And our tank's frozen up here? No, everyone got out. They must have had amp left.
With the Diva bomb, get right into it, but they've lost Pascal, and
They must have had ice block left, weren't able to use the wall to help contain them. And that's the round.
In advantage of American Tornado. The Shatter, though, not going to find anyone who does find left, though. The follow-up, although it doesn't get the pin, Ultraviolet does manage to take him out of the fight, and now American Tornado.
And there's OG's next amp. Okay.
Certainly.
Okay, let's jump. Now we're here.
Quickly adapted to, and again, they've done a
Are we
very good
going
job
to
of
see
kind of
this?
converting
I
into
don't
this
think...
meta
I mean,
that
Speedily
has been
could play the
established by some
Doom.
of these
You
other
wouldn't
contending
usually play the
teams, you know,
Doom.
certainly before the Mayhem tournament and then going into it as well.
It's kind of cool if any of this
Just
is
trying to
real,
work off
but
their
let's see if it's
synergy,
real.
The innate synergy and basically a week or so of practice on this. And I mean, obviously it's working out. They're taking the lead right now, but Revival at any point could come back
Okay.
into this one. It's interesting to see this comp here. They're actually bringing back the old, I would say like the Obey comp.
Yeah, so this isn't super crazy from either team. I mean, Speedily on Doomfist. Oh, how crazy unusual. No, it's not. You wouldn't usually pair, in my mind, the Sim and the Doomfist like this. But okay. Okay is just what I'm gonna say there. And then from Revival, this isn't all that weird. They are obviously running the Winston instead of the... I mean, they've swapped who's playing what. Icy has moved over and is playing the Reinhardt, and Cloudy is playing the Winston. Cloudy's their main tank. Icy is their off tank. And you wouldn't always see them swapping like this, but this is just a super heavy cleave thing where both of these heroes can shoot through shields. It's like super heavy cleave this, plus this, plus this. This is like a ton of close range damage all at once. These guys aren't really defendable. This you don't really want to defend with a shield. This isn't defendable with Matrix. None of these are defendable with Matrix. Like, this is just abusing the piercing, effectively, of these heroes. Which works well if you're worried about, you know, hey, we want to overwhelm their diva. If you're worried about, hey, we think they might run an Orisa in the second tank spot, all this stuff works pretty well for that. And when range isn't an issue. And range isn't an issue because of what the meta on this point is, which is these Sim teleporters. That's just the meta on this point.
From EU from last season.
This is actually quite interesting too. Right, they're taking so much of that damage, forcing out the immortality field.
Okay.
Early in that. Actually quite interesting.
I feel like the fight has already happened before they've brought us here. So Reiner is going down and has been bullied out of his lamp. Next swing wins, and it looks like Icy is going to get it. I think next swing wins. Icy might live through a swing. Yeah, Icy lives through a swing. So Icy's swing here should take down Reiner unless Reiner's able to step back in. Reiner should not be able to step back in. Icy himself will probably shortly be finished in trade, though. And then we've got Ultraviolet is in really bad shape, but Ultraviolet is in the lamp. I don't expect the lamp to last long. In terms of positioning, I probably like American Tornadoes a little better, but not so much so to overcome the health differentials right now. They're threatening from different directions well. I like that they're threatening from different directions. That's good, but it's not like there's no different direction threatening going on here. It's just a case of threatening this way and this way versus threatening in this general direction and a little bit from out here. This I would say is stronger, but not so much so to make up for the health of the situation. Oh, and then Speedily's there. Yeah, Speedily, that changes it. That would make theirs better, yes. Uh-huh. So Reiner's stayed up, but Icy's gone down, and so is Ultraviolet. Shouldn't be hard to finish Reiner off here, guys. You have plenty of piercing damage. That's the point of your comp, but you now lose Seeker.
Falls first here, but the trade is in favor favor of American Tornado in terms of numbers, and American Tornado, they're gonna try to push on with this aggression.
Okay.
Send back Revival to go maybe for a reset at the same time, but they're able to
Bye-bye.
goodbye, Nas. Unfortunately, you ain't gonna be able to come back from that one. Nome having wings, but instead, Revival, they were gonna be able to come back from that.
Okay. Why are you amping heals, Lep? Speed is 100% the way out of here. While you're in the air, heals is fine because you can't change your speed. But now you're on the wall and you should be on speed. You should be on speed. You should be on speed. You're late, Lep.
Instead, Revival, they were able to try to flip the situation, but going back and forth right here and having Hydron on the Symmetra is going to be able to allow American Tornado to get back to this point rather quickly.
Easy cleanup.
You see American Tornado take control pretty early in that fight. They got a couple of opening picks that set the tone for the rest of the fight, and now that they are on it here, they do have the advantage with Hydron still being on the Symmetra. Seeker has since swapped, and in fact, this might be a...
Okay. So usually... Oh. Wow. Okay. So usually you can't hold where Speedily is set up here on this map these days because everyone is running the sim TPs and the sim TPs go from here to here. So usually the defending teams can't hold out here, can't hold up here, can't hold here, can't hold here. They have to basically hold like in here to determine whether you have a sim or not. And then once it's real that you have a sim, they basically have to go back to point. I'm exaggerating it slightly, but not much, because you don't want the brawl team to be the team that you have to push into with choke control, because this is effectively a choke here. You don't want to have to push into a brawl team's choke, and having the sim TP threat means that if you try to hold out here and poke them and spam them on their way in, they teleport behind you, and then that spam advantage that you thought you were getting is way not worth having to push back into them actually controlling something. Now it gets more complicated than that because you have your own sim that you can TP or fake TP behind them with, but generally that's why you don't get to do this forward hold. They get to do this forward hold with Speedily here because they saw that Seeker got off the sim. And if I'm not mistaken, Seeker got off the sim probably with decent ult charge. I don't think he used his ult.
Rest of the fight, and now...
Oh, he wasn't the one on it. My bad. Oh. So, went down early. We had... Was that Nos that went down early? Okay, so this has been a messy respawn-filled fight, etc. He went down early, came back as Junk, I believe, and now is coming back as this. Okay, so he did not have an ult that he was giving up.
Here. They do have the advantage with Hydron still being on the Symmetra. Seeker has since
so now American Tornado gets to do a close hold, which is an advantage you usually don't get on this map. And they won't actually do a hard hold, though they could, but they get to tax them on the way in. They get to go, hey, as you try to rotate out here, our Doomfist gets to slam in on you as our team pushes you type thing, which is great because Doomfist doesn't have as good rollouts on the point as he does from out here. Sorry, Nordstrom, but just keep in mind, like, you know, you can just link them my videos and maybe they'll get better. Probably not, but maybe, because they probably won't watch my videos. If they did, they'd get better. You just have to accept that Overwatch on ladder is not the same as Overwatch in organized play, and the answer to your problem, Nordstrom, is you have to treat ladder just like you're leveling up grounds to work on your individual thing that you're working on so that you can play better for whatever organized team you're playing on. Even if it's, you know, I know for you it's not this, but it could be a bronze team, it could be a diamond team, it could be a masters team, it could be a tier 3 team, it could be a contenders team. You want to get on a team if you play enough Overwatch hours to justify it in a week, because the game is so much more interesting and so much less frustrating. And then you just get to treat ladder like your hyperbolic time chamber.
Revival winds up swapping a little bit more down the line if they're not able to be effective in this next fight.
Interesting. Is American Tornado down people? No. They're just delaying it. They're really letting them push in and spend cooldowns before Speedily comes in here. Okay, and now they're hard pushing in. Bye-bye. Speedily got traded out, though. Why did Speedily get traded out? This Winston bubble just did enough to keep the backline out? That shouldn't have been a thing. That shouldn't have been possible, guys.
and
Okay.
swapped. In fact,
So this
might
is the
be a
thing. This is playing the
situation
Winston
where
correctly.
Revival
So
will
this
end
is
up
a good
swapping
play
a
from
little bit
Cloudy.
forward down the line if
Like,
they're not able
you look at this, they're trying to pull them back because they want to pull them into
to be
Speedily's
effective
effective range. This is
in
good.
this
And then
one.
they're looking to push back in. But I don't like that they are actually pushing back in here while the Winston is separated. You now have this situation where Winston is here. I'll swap colors. Winston is here for one team. Reinhardt is here for the other team, and support 1 and support 2 are both back here. You don't actually, as Reinhardt, want to push in and fight right now. You're thinking you want to push in and fight because your Doomfist is over here, but you don't actually want to do it yet because it's not like your Doomfist has been discovered. You want to let this Winston get forced out first, let this bubble get broken. You let him try to take his silly fight as you kite a little bit. You can't kite too hard because if you kite too much, they go in, etc. But you kite a little bit until that Winston is forced out. And then as a group, when this Winston goes, oh shoot, I have to leave. I don't like this. I have to leave. Then you get to go, okay, now all of us together get to push forward. Is the Winston's team going to try to take space as this is happening? Absolutely. But Reinhardt doesn't mind if he backs into the Winston's bubble. That makes it easy. That's totally fine with him. So it's kiting the aggression as their team pushes. Then you push back after their Winston's forced out. You push back as your Doomfist goes in, and it is lovely. That said, this bubble should not stay up. I'm a little curious where our McCree. Do we have a McCree on this team? I'm a little curious where our Sim is, I guess is the better answer.
fight.
There's False. There's the bubble, and the bubble is keeping out Ultraviolet.
Interested to see how Speedy's gonna be able to.
And Speedily is basically getting peeled too hard here. This shouldn't be happening. American Tornado executed a little wrong here. Good play on Cloudy's part, but American Tornado executed a little wrong.
Play this out too, working around Seeker, and now that Seeker's not in this fight, it's gonna be even easier. You just have to watch out for Nas, but unfortunately he's gone for the count, as Nas does find him too. The Diva Bomb and the Blizzard as well is gonna catch Hydron, but no follow-up right there. He tries to escape, but Left follows up, and this is gonna go in advantage of Revival as they do reclaim this point. Then I had to clean up these turrets real quick as well.
Yeah, well done, Cloudy.
Tornado. This may be difficult here, because although you do have those ultimates online, Hydron's gonna have to set right back up.
Yeah, now you have to worry as well about Speedily because, and it's even more so.
Revival has good ults. They've got Primal Shatter and both support ults, and they're playing into Window, Beat, Shatter. Okay, so really we're actually looking at a little more ult-wise available for American Tornado, but it's not a big swing.
Because he's going to have that quick reset of just jumping up and.
So you see that they did that. I think there's got to be a better way to do that. I haven't really put the mental energy into figuring it out, but doing this little fake teleporter thing to be like, oh, bait teleporter here, you can do better. Like this idea is, oh, we can do the fake teleporter here, so they'll spend time shooting at this so that they're not poking at us. They weren't poking at you anyways. You're rotating from here to here by the time the teleporter is destroyed. They weren't poking at you. So like, yes, this is more scary, and yes, it maybe makes them panic on comms for a second, but I think we're past that. I think everyone knows that most of the time this is going to be a fake, and they have plans for if it's real or if it's fake. So I'm not worried about that anymore from good teams. I think you really are on retakes better off doing we drop our TP here to go back here, or here to go back here type thing. I think that is better because you might actually use that TP, or some of you might use that TP. So it actually becomes more interesting to destroy, but it's also, if they destroy it, they're destroying it as you're rotating through space that they'd actually, it's costing them time, poke damage, that they'd like to be spending in your direction as you're rotating through more neutral, more compromised space as opposed to this space, which they weren't going to shoot at you anyways. So I don't like that TP.
To the sky, as soon as he goes in, he can invest a lot more resources, come back down, and then go again.
Okay. Yeah, that'll equalize the sound barrier quite nicely. Does it also block out the window? No, but the sim wall will. Okay.
So right here, and now being able to go in with the shatter, but the sound.
Didn't get that. Why is Pascal in so much danger? Why is Pascal in so much danger? Is it the Winston? Yeah, it's the Winston. No, it's not the Winston. That's the wrong team.
So right
Is it Speedily? False?
Invest a lot
Both?
more resources.
Okay. This happens. Nos is out here going for this. Gets the ice block forced immediately by Speedily threatening there.
Go again.
Is now going to go for it again and is on a bit of a timer out here because doesn't have ice block and is very, very separated from the team. But American Tornado is going to push hard with this wall up.
a window to those
And we just did see that Devo went right on by there.
so
There's Pascal, sure.
right here, and now being able to go in with the shatter, but
Oh, the pin was into Pascal. That's why Pascal's so low. Okay, that makes
the
sense.
sound barrier to
Good pin.
negate that from actually doing too much of an
Mhm.
impact instead. Now Rainer
Mm-hmm.
being able to find Pascal and the
Yeah.
rest of Revival falling through. Here comes Speedily, and what looked to be a good situation for Revival. Now Hurix has gone in favor of American Tornado as that rush comp really showing how dominated he could be right now in this meta.
Did Nos go down early? I want to see. Looks like no.
Go again.
So we have this. Went for this. American Tornado did get a pretty good, pretty solid. Okay, not like amazing, but they did get the shatter here to strip some of the beat effectively.
Being able to
They
go
did
in
get the
with
pin.
the shatter, but
Nos is probably playing as passive as he can at this point. Who's out there? Winston is out there. So Nos is out there with Cloudy. They're trying to work OG, but we've had equalized beats at this point. So they're not getting anything done because we've had equalized beats.
the sound
And OG's beat came later, which is going to make it better if we didn't get any eliminations during revivals.
to negate that from actually
Mhm.
doing too much.
The flash doesn't matter, or the stun doesn't matter because we have too much beat health, and now Seeker can't win. Yeah, okay.
Now Rainer being able to find
So it's a case of the later beat being better. It's a case of the pin into Pascal there. It's a case of Nos having ice block forced early. Yeah, okay.
Falling through. Here comes Speedily, and what looked to be a good situation for Revival. Now Hurix has gone in favor of American Tornado as that rush comp really showing how dominated he could be right now in this meta.
Yeah, and you can see those swaps happening now from Revival. They were just opting to hold on to those ultimates, get use out of them, maybe play really aggressive, see what they could get done. And
Is that the
now they
TP
get
I
the
think it
swaps back
is?
over, and now you go back into American.
This is a common enough TP. It gives you the ability to enforce a corner, also the ability to transition back hard on a point. Has some nice little defensive value.
Tornado, where I think honestly you're getting a little bit of a reset in ultimate economy here, so this is a decent spot for them to make these swaps.
I like the wait right here. Cloudy trying to isolate Rainer though with the Maywall, gonna go over with the follow up. We need more time.
Okay. Let's call the fight a little more temporal. Okay, so did Speedily just go in early?
Them to
Let's
make
take a look.
these-
This is happening. So looking at these comps, the traditional way that you would play these comps, I say, is they're running Sim plus Doomfist. You as Revival would effectively go, we are going to refuse to engage in this against this comp. We might have our Reinhardt threaten over here, while our McCree threatens at a slight off angle through here, while maybe Lep goes over here, or Icy goes over here, or maybe Lep goes over here and Icy goes over here. Very carefully. People that have the ability to not get knocked off, people that are going to be hard to remove, do a little bit of, okay, maybe we threaten from different angles. McCree does a little bit of an off-angle threaten that's different than where the Reinhardt and May are working. The Reinhardt and May are careful not to feed Sim charge, effectively, not to let Sim ramp off of them as they just threaten it, and then they look to get something forced from Seeker and the other off-anglers. They look to go, can we get a health lead? Can we get a lamp out of them? Can we maybe destroy their teleporter? Something along those lines. Can we get amp out of them? Something that's going to have, can we get boosters out of them? Something that's going to be meaningful, and then we would see Revival go for its push with a Maywall. That said, this TP that we were talking about earlier, if it's not destroyed, is going to make that Maywall less useful because, oh, we hit a wall that splits. Nope, everyone's right through it. Not necessarily immediately, they might be a step away from it, but it potentially makes the Mei wall less useful. So that's what we'd like to see from Revival here. And there's enough time left. American Tornado is not about to win the map or anything, so there is enough time left for them to do that. An ults on the board make this basically a neutral fight. So yes, that is what we would like to see happen here. Let's see how it gets driven. That was not right. That was not right. This is Icy just trying to force it, and it's not just Icy trying to force it. The team is deciding to try to force this. The idea is Icy is going through, and maybe he'll get shot less here, so Icy's going to immediately 180 in the air and try to take turrets out as they push through. So it's not like no plan. At least there's some degree of a plan here. So I do appreciate that there is some degree of a plan here, and we can see Seeker is going for his traditional play of I'm going to walk through at a slightly different off angle, and maybe there will be a Rein or something for me to flash, maybe a Doomfist for me to flash. Fine. That's okay with me. But this is not, I would have preferred Revival to try to build up a bigger lead than this. This is not a lead that they built up. In fact, they're going to be behind because even though they're trying with Icy to destroy these sim turrets, they're not going to have them all destroyed, and they're certainly not going to have them all destroyed before Hydran gets to level 2, maybe even level 3 on his ramp of the sim beam there. So not my favorite. Nozzle hit a wall. This point isn't like perfectly wall sized where a wall really takes all that long to get around. It's really not enough to equalize the value of the sim. It's part of why the sim gets run here.
Right here.
I'm going to make note. Revival didn't soften enough. Didn't soften sim comp enough on night markets before pushing. That's abusable. Okay.
Trying to isolate.
Seeker does get his playoff though, and Seeker getting his playoff though there could absolutely be big. Like that could be that should be enough to actually flip the fight in their favor, even if they didn't execute a higher probability thing.
Gonna go over with the follow with the mortality field now out and about. The Spire taking so much of that.
I believe we've now seen both lamps. There's the sim wall coming online for American Tornado. And that definitely helps, but it shouldn't help enough to overcome the person difference. And this sim TP was set up on the point. It's not a sim TP for faster respawns. Cloudy? You're getting beamed. Getting beamed sucks. Don't get me wrong, getting beamed sucks, but you don't need to push into this. Like at all. You can literally have just been backing out. As soon as you guys got the speedily elimination, you guys could actually like stabilize. Why are you still moving towards the opponents? And now you're fire striking. Cloudy. Oh, Cloudy. You do not get to fire strike with 100-something health. You know better than this. Okay. Should just be stabilizing here. They should just be stabilizing. They went up 1. They used their flashbang. That's something that they could partially wait on the cooldown for. They know that they're not far on this. Yes, there's other ults that they need to be worried about, like this sim wall, like Shatter, like self-destruct, so they don't just want to wait for that high noon. But they got that elimination. They can totally stabilize this rather than hard pushing. You want the fight to slow down a little when you go up in numbers because more cooldowns will roll back in your favor. More aura healing will come for Lucio. More people even just doing their very normal, very methodical stuff that's very low value will just add up by the fact that you have more people, as long as you don't push it, go fast, try to force it, which is what he's doing here. That shouldn't have happened. And with Cloudy down, they did get Ultraviolet at least at the same time. Seeker is trying his darndest to win this fight. And then we throw up the Mei wall from Nos here, but Nos has already used that. And who's Nos trying to peel? I don't know who Nos is trying to peel with that. And Reiner goes down. And Speedily is back. and speedily came back with the Pascal elimination. So that was a fast rollout to get back. But yeah, he plays a lot of Doomfist, and Hydron picked up Lep after ramping up wildly off of Cloudy, which that's the whole thing. Like, they just needed to not go aggressive there. They literally needed to be like, yep, we got our elimination, and now we'll back off and let her unramp, because Sim unramps quite quickly.
That leaves no sustainability now.
And if they push you out, now they're pushing through a choke into you. They're pushing into you where their turrets aren't set up. They're pushing into you while they're down a person. You take that every time.
On Revival's team with Lep and Pascal
Yeah.
down, American Tornado, they're going to hold on to this advantage. And look at that, nearly 90% on board for American Tornado.
Yeah, they just wanted that quick reset, so they have to jump off, have to get set up. They only have about 10 seconds left now to get back in there and make something happen, and it's going to really be down to Cloudy, maybe Icy, to actually get that contest, and luckily for them, he's able to do it successfully.
So be able to come right back in with the Blizzard, but the Shatter, unfortunately, not going to be able to find their mark, but instead does find Icy. That's going to be a big pick, at least losing one of those tanks right here, just leaving it up to Cloudy on the pressure. The Blizzard is going to be able to buy some of that time.
This should have been over. Let me go back. I was making notes. Let's take a look.
Down to Cloudy.
Revival's pushing back in. American Tornado has way better ult economy. Has meaningfully better ult economy, not way better.
Icy to actually get that contest, and
Now, the contest won't be a problem, but Icy is in there effectively early to get the contest, and he's going to get chunked down, and it's, yeah, I mean, we see a flashbang, we see that Hydron is going to ramp off of that. No, that wasn't a flashbang, that must have been a pin.
Cloudy, maybe Icy to actually get that contest.
Because there is no flashbang to get Icy. So that has to have been a pin. The Shatter. It would have been the Shatter. Okay. Shatter plus Sim ramping off of it. I don't know. No, it had to have been the pin and then the Shatter onto Lep there, based on when the two stun timings were. Why are you losing people? I know that there's Blizzard, but like, why are you losing people to this degree here? So, you just took down Icy. Okay. Seeker's going for the high noon. This shouldn't be scary at all. Reiner, put your shield up to help out your Doomfist here. Don't swing back into the open. And then the Blizzard comes, or the Blizzard is out, and Nos takes down speedily in the chaos. And then we have a second freeze. Okay. It's more work than should have gotten done. Now that's over. And somehow Cloudy got Reiner down because Reiner went out, I guess, to follow up on his Shatter? Where did he go down? Yeah. It looks like Reiner tried to push out to follow up on his Shatter, which had been answered with a lamp out there, and he's totally alone following out up on that Shatter because this Blizzard separated his team from him. Are they focusing on the Mei too long again? Okay. That's a Mei. That's an ice block. Can you explain to me why you are beaming the Hydron? Who was this? This was American Tornado. This is American Tornado. Not swapping off the ice block. Ice block. Who didn't do that earlier? Icy was slow to swap off the ice block. And this is Hydron. Interesting. Be better, guys. Like, if Ice Block grabs this much of your team's attention, that's actually a big deal. Because this is time that Hydron, Hydron already missed the opportunity to throw a right click out here, even if it's a poor one, to throw a right click out here. There's stuff that Hydron could do that would potentially be meaningful here. And if Mei on Ice Block's, big deal. The right click gets thrown at the Mei that on Ice Blocked instead. It's not like you can't change the aim of it while you're charging it, and then you go right back to left clicking. Like, this is damage that's being soaked by this Mei, attention that's being soaked, which is a big deal because attention is something that turns into damage that could be used to support Reiner. Would it stop Reiner from going down? No, but it could potentially make that trade a lot better.
I see. That's gonna be a big pick, at least losing one of those tanks right here. down the pressure. The Blizzard is going to be able to buy some of that time, though, and that space for the rest of Revival to rotate right back onto the point. Gotta beware of the Diva bomb right here, but they're trying to take care of.
And then why?
To rotate right back onto the point. Gotta
Yeah, so that happened.
beware of the Diva bomb right here, but they're trying
Hit the cell, hit the shatter.
to take care of.
Do we hit the shatter onto anyone?
Right back onto the point. Gotta beware of the Diva bomb right here, but they're trying to take
No, shatter's onto no one, and because the shatter's onto no one, we're going to justify the bait. Okay.
care of False before he gets right back into the mech, and they do so successfully with the shatter coming alive as well. Revival.
So that was bad target focus. It also had to do with the Mei split. It also had to do with, honestly, Reiner shouldn't have been pushing into that shatter. There really wasn't a good reason for Reiner bad to push away from his sim team to. It's not a repetitive issue yet, but it's something I'm going to keep an eye on.
Grim situation. They've been able to turn it right back in their favor.
But now, with all of the resources that they invested into that fight right there, Revival has not much left to play around with into this next one. American Tornado, on the other hand, are coming up with some really important ults. I mean, some people may think that Doomfist ult isn't going to be majorly impactful.
No, it'll matter on this point.
Or maybe that window isn't going to be majorly impactful.
The windows definitely matters.
But both are going to require a wall cooldown.
Okay, so they're going here. They're going here knowing that there's a sim. And since they're going here knowing that there's a sim, they have to push in here and take this fight. That's not the craziest thing in the world because they need to do something to surprise American Tornado. And it's no secret that American Tornado wasn't scrimming Brawl until recently. They've been scrimming with OWL teams. And OWL teams, in part because they have such a high count of Korean players, and Korea isn't really playing Brawl. They're playing more Double Bubble. OWL is playing more non-Brawl things. So since OWL is playing more non-Brawl things, American Tornado does most of their scrimming with OWL. American Tornado was playing mostly non-Brawl stuff. So it's no secret. And then American Tornado dropped a match in a previous tournament very recently, and then very quickly went, oh, I guess we better play Brawl. And they've since been doing fine, but it's a reasonable guess to go, oh, hey, we can surprise them in here. We can potentially go in here. They won't be expecting us to take the fight in here because usually there's the sim, TP, respect, etc. Sure. They go for this. In here, they're going to be able to get a good Mei wall. The sim won't be pre-set up with her turrets in here because this wouldn't be what they were expecting. That, however, is terrifying. They were able to get that window up. That window is going to be a big deal. Are there any ults that Revival can answer with? There are no ults that Revival can answer with. They basically need to get eliminations right now or it's over.
Oh, this is just chaotic.
Nope. That's not going to work.
Right here, with the photon barrier
Yeah,
too,
that's
just
over.
trying to build right into it right here. You got Speedly as well, but
When you're down ults and, you're in a situation like this, you have to try to make a let's surprise them play, let's do something funky, let's either play really good neutral, let's deal a different card, make a different play than we usually do in neutral, like let's use boops in a way that we don't usually do, let's use the Mei wall in a way we don't usually do, let's jump them in a place that they don't usually expect to take the fight. That is the type of thing you do. So I don't blame Revival for that. That was a totally reasonable play given the situation.
I mean, Revival needs to touch this point, and they don't.
Okay. We've been going for about an hour 20 here. Do I want to do a second map? I'm not sure I have a second map in me, but here we go. I'm going to do it anyways.
Able to turn that back around with everything that they have. We're going to be seeing in this tournament this week. However, on top of that, against a
let's take a look.
Make sure that you get
real quick, but Rialto, I know
Tornado can really lean into.
Can we get the beginning of the match here?
This to their advantage now, bringing in
we can
to match with Speedly here. Hydron gonna
Icy as a player. I think the synergy that he has with Cloudy already is
Okay.
feeling pretty solid. Obviously, we're used to
So they
Cloud
subbed
being
in
that
Wub.
player, but we've already seen.
I feel like Wub has
we've
been
actually
7th
heard
man
from
on a lot
Cloudy
of teams.
specifically already that it's just another Scandinavian main tank difference you would have to imagine, but nonetheless, it's basically the same. Doors opening, and American Tornado are pressed up.
This is out of style, guys. Don't do this. So,
Into the spawn.
this is a thing that used to be popular. I really don't like it anymore because if you have any idea that it's coming, you scout it all, you hear it at all, the attacking team just gets to go, oh, we're going to stand up here where you literally can't reach us and spam you out. And we can get a good concave for doing that. We can be here, we can be over here, we can be on the railings that are off my screen on the other side, and you can spam them out pretty darn hard. And you can either go on some poke heavy comp to spam them out when they try to just occupy Carta 6, or you can stay on your comp and go, we're going to hold ult charge, but we're still going to soften you up a ton from high ground before we do so. Like, either one that happens. And the argument is American Tornado gets 3 fights on first if they do it this way, as long as they don't let the cart move at all while they're losing the fight. And hey, they could win some fights, and that would be great. But I find, especially in Brawl eras where you expect both teams to be playing Brawl, that's not worth it. Because once Brawl's comps get going with their ult rotations, it's a lot. And stopping them when you have like 20 and 40% ult charge and they have 80 and 100% ult charge isn't fun, and they're going to cycle you for a couple fights. I'm really not a fan of this, not in Brawl eras.
I love it.
Which is not to say I'm against spawn camps in general, spawn holds in general. This isn't a spawn camp, this is a spawn hold. Spawn holds can be fine. This is just not a good map for it. The second story is too oppressively powerful, and the cover really isn't good enough for the defending team over here.
Going over to the side, they're trying to catch Revival off guard, but
that's the thing. They have to catch them off guard, and they have to catch them so off guard that Revival actually drops, which didn't happen. And Revival's not going to drop until they're confident that they have a lead. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Cloudy? Cloudy, you know better than that. That said, they still have a way better concave. I would have preferred Cloudy not to drop here yet, but it's still okay. I just would have preferred that they work out a bigger advantage. But you can see they've got Seeker, they've got Pascal, they've got strong, good off-angle control here. Lep can control the opposing Reinhardt pretty well from up here. Like, yeah, they have a pretty big advantage. Speedly's instantly deleted. Did Speedly get stunned? Or...
See Cloudy and the rest of Revival, they're beating them on the high ground and having
just barely stunned by the edge of that flashbang.
That high ground could set you up with the advantage. Can you see right there? False wanted to get around that Mei. While he was having such a troublesome time, he does have those boots to get around though, but Seeker's uncontested. He drops down from the high ground, but American Tornado's plans have blown up right back in.
Okay, American Tornado has been eliminated. They got 24 seconds off of the clock, and in exchange for 24 seconds off the clock, 20%, 20%, 20%, less than 20%, 20%, 46%. So UV, and this is usually what happens when you're losing fight, your flex support goes up, versus 57%, 20%, 50%, 30%, 30%, 40%. Way more ult charge over here. Way more ult charge. Not like 3 times as much ult charge or anything, but way more ult charge over here that we're looking at in terms of what Revival now has to play with. So now for the next neutral fight, if the fight goes at all long, and Brawl fights tend to go relatively long, Revival's going to come up on ults early. The only thing American Tornado can count on is be like, well, maybe we can get our window first. And this does actually happen frequently. The team that loses the first fight actually gets the first ult in its window. But they didn't even last long enough to really get all that close to their window. And look, Pascal's almost as close because he actually got to heal his team up from the fight that happened. Whereas Ultraviolet, they actually lost everybody. So that's a lot of unmirrored charge that turned into offense, didn't turn into heal charge. So I don't like it. 24 seconds for this ult charge, no, not worth. Not just this, not just the ult charge, but also the positioning advantage. Where now they could have set up good, strong positioning around where Nasa is now, and now they can't. They're going to have to rush back to try to get positioning, and that positioning isn't going to be as strong
They do
defensive
pick up a good
positioning.
strategy, though, and we've seen this when with other compositions.
Yeah, they think they're going to get 3 fights, but their second fight is going to be in a place that they have to win it immediately to get to be able to hold in a good place. Otherwise, they're pushing through open to take this fight.
And other metas where teams like to take those early fights, and they love to dive back in and get another one quickly, and maybe even if they can do well in that fight, have another opportunity to lose that fight later, or that stage of the cart, and then get a
Okay, Nos hits a reasonable wall. Speedily is through the wall. That definitely matters. False did not have to use boosters there. He was on top of the wall. We have our mirroring wall. We have good AD off angling here, but your block is going to get forced first. Your block is going to get forced first. So even though Nos got the earlier wall, that block is being forced here is going to likely put American Tornado in the lead for this fight. Let's see what's being done on the other flank. Will you show me what's being done on the other flank? You will not. American Tornado had their lamp forced, though, and that's a big deal. That's a very big deal. Looks like that got forced to save Lep, and immediately... Oh, no, that got forced by American Tornado's lamp got forced, excuse me. So now I would say that we are back in the situation, and that's not wild because they did have the earlier wall, so it's not wild, earlier wall cast against them, so it's not wild that we're seeing that come out first. You're looking for a refreeze opportunity. You're peeling with the freeze right in False's face. False turned away in time to not give you a headshot, but it doesn't matter. Good.
Taking care of Reiner at the same time. Now being able to clean up the tank lineup is just going to narrowly leave Speedily, and American Tornado have yet to get their foot on this payload.
I like the DPS play that's coming out of Revival, both from Seeker and Nos. They're doing a good job.
Seems like they're going to go for that third opportunity to fight, but stay off. False takes a little bit of a dip after losing his mech, so the plan again, it was there. This time Tornado just fell a little bit short, and now Revival competing for that high ground. This is super important. If they can...
This really is quite important. And by the way, you'll notice they only got 2 team fights. They only got 2 team fights, and neither team fight was in a particularly good position. So this was not executed well. I didn't see what happened. Either they let the cart move too much in their lost fight, or they didn't come back in and get their second fight fast enough. They were too disorganized in that.
The plan again, it was there. This time Tornado just fell a little.
This is really important, though, pushing in on second here. Whichever team wins this next fight for control of this high ground, whichever team gets control of this high ground first, is incredibly hard to extract a team from here once they've set up. So if American Tornado was able to set up on this high ground first, it could add minutes of pushes, like 2-3 minutes of pushes for Revival to get a successful break of this high ground, that they're then able to get the cart from here over to, perhaps around. Or if Revival gets it first, it's almost a foregone conclusion that they're going to be able to win the next team fight off of it, and they're going to spend like no time on second. So it's really important that while looking for staggers, while doing stuff, that you get control of this and you get control of this high ground thoroughly after that second point cap. So whichever does it can add a ton of time. Can take a ton of time off the clock for the attackers if they're the defenders, or they can just make sure the cart zips right on through, because it's hard for both directions to push into this high ground tier. Very hard.
A little bit short, and now Revival competing for.
And it looks like False was late, so
if they can get Seeker
Revival should be able to take this. And you see, American Tornado recognizes that this high ground is so important, and they don't want to have to surrender it, which they'd have to do because False isn't here right now, that they're like, forget that. We are spending window to not let you get this high ground, even when we're down a person. And I appreciate that. That's actually totally valid in my book.
Positioned up here safely. Big opening for them to make some plays.
There's the wall to block the window. The wall's never a perfect answer to window, but it's a partial answer. And they've all dropped off the high ground. So it did what it was supposed to. And I am totally good with that window investment. Good on you, Ultraviolet. Good on you, American Tornado.
Not going to be able to get too much off of that. Instead, though, they do know that positioning that American Tornado wants.
didn't need you to drop and take this fight immediately, though. It's not the end of the world because you have wall advantage for this fight that you're taking immediately because the other wall got used to answer your window, but I really would have preferred that you softened them up more instead of just taking your wall advantage. The high ground is that good. Now, they're not all going to drop. They should still have supports up there that can do some work, and of course, Icy is going to contest those. Take down speedily. Why does speedily go down? Is Pascal just doing some, Pascal's answering with his own window now. We've seen that. Pascal just finds damage onto Speedily there through his window because it wasn't fully, I mean, he popped his window. He popped his window after the wall and still got value around the wall. Okay. And now their wall cycles back in, and this is a Revival win. Again, I don't like how fast American Tornado committed into this fight. They thought the wall advantage was enough, and I'd have preferred more.
Be really wary here. Cloudy's taking a lot of that damage, forces out that immortality, but American Tornado, they've lost Speedily, and that means no Blizzard in this fight. Boss's Diva.
Okay. This is good from Seeker. This should be a UV elimination. It was a UV elimination. It's this. Yeah. And Seeker just cleans up. I mean, that's cool. To be fair, they had already won the fight. Like, Seeker is playing. Maybe this isn't Seeker playing well. I haven't looked at enough Seeker, but Seeker is getting a lot of work done. Seeker is doing his job well. This is good play as far as I'm concerned out of Seeker, but his team had already won the fight before any of that happened. It's cleanup.
You and Cloudy getting that 3K. Don't forget that we see you too, Cloudy. Right here, you have Cloudy hanging out on the front lines and then Seeker applying that pressure on the back lines. I mean, essentially, they sandwich American Tornado right there. At least they'll be able to come right back in.
Okay, so we have Wub in here with the High Noon. They have Wub with the High Noon, and you'll notice this was well done on their part. So they go with, hey, we hit the Wub High Noon, and we also immediately put the wall behind you so you can't retreat. This is something that I wish Maze were better at. You are starting to see them get pretty good at this in Contenders, not so much in Tier 3, not so much in Collegiate yet, where they go, we're really good at the walls to block your retreats. We're really good at the wall. Had to hit this wall from here. Speedily had to hit this wall from here. And if you guys know May, that's not the easiest wall to aim in the world, but he got this wall to block off the retreat right as they're popping their High Noon. So, or, I mean, to block the expected retreat from the High Noon. And now there's just not much that this team can do. They would have to go, okay, we're going to drop and go here. And that's just going to be messy because are they really going to drop in a synchronized manner that they're behind the Rhine Shield the whole time? Are they going to be able to organize that quickly enough to do it in a synchronized manner that the McCree can't just charge the High Noon enough to just blow up the shield? You get the idea.
Right back in with some ultimates of their own.
So instead, they try to mirror with their own. They mirror with their own High Noon later.
Right there. At least they'll be able to come right back in.
They mirror with their own High Noon. Ooh, this is nice. They mirror with their own High Noon, and they delay their lamp, but then they do pop their lamp late into the opposing High Noon. And as they pop their lamp, how close are those in execution?
At least they'll be able to come right back in with some ultimates of their own.
Yeah, basically as they pop their lamp, they pull their High Noon so that American Tornado doesn't have time to realize that that was the play and mirror it, because that's what American Tornado needed to do. American Tornado needed to mirror that play. They don't have a May wall they can put in front of it. They've already spent their May wall. American Tornado needed to mirror it, and Ultraviolet needed to throw down his own lamp. So that was well coordinated between Pascal and Seeker. And that was a good mid-fight call to adjust for that. Maybe they've seen that before. I don't know. If they've seen that before, it's well polished. If they haven't seen that before, good mid-fight call.
Revival has just been running over Tornado, but you still see them taking quick fights, which is exactly how you want to play this.
Somebody stop Seeker. Somebody stop it.
But why did we pop Blizzard?
Which is exactly. Revival has just been running over Tornado.
You had wall advantage and you knew it. You were already up one.
You still see them taking
Who
quick,
popped that first?
and basically Revival has
Nos or
just
Speedily?
been running over Tornado, but you still
Nos, Nos, you can't use that high. You can't use that. Let's Blizzard into fight. They're up 2-in. You can tell me that they're not up 2, but they're up basically 2-in. This is sort of a must-win fight because, again, if you lose this fight, American Tornado reestablishes on high ground. But I don't like that he's using this Blizzard here. Like Blizzard is a really big and powerful ult. He's using it into a fight where they're winning this fight pretty hard in my mind.
see that.
Not super hard, but they're winning this fight hard enough that I don't want to see Blizzard spent, unless the other Blizzard is spent, which it is, but it's spent in response.
And taking quick fights, which is exactly how you want to play this.
Somebody stop Seeker.
And unsurprisingly,
Somebody stop him.
American Tornado. Cloudy! Cloudy.
Because right now he's just on fire.
Next time you guys go like, oh, it's a plat game. It's a plat game. One person presses Q. Everyone has to press Q. It's a contenders game. It's a contenders game. One person presses Q. Everyone has to press Q.
Cloudy getting a fat shatter and the follow from the rest of Revival. I mean, talk about American Tornado having no momentum right now on this defense.
Yeah, this is.
And to give perspective on this, American Tornado, again, won last season's Gauntlet. They're the best team in NA. And I think Revival had to come up from Trials. They've been in contenders before, but they got relegated. I think they came up as the top seed out of Trials, though. I could be wrong.
That's the perfect word to use here. Momentum. Revival has literally all of it, to the point and to the extent that they are just running straight at their spawn now. American Tornado started this map in Revival's attacking spawn, and now Revival has...
Okay, so let's look at ults here for a second. Pascal's got the window, AC's got the self-destruct, nothing else is close for Revival. But American Tornado, even though they've lost a couple fights in a row here, aren't like sitting on a fat ult bank. They have Shatter and Beat, which are good, plus they have window. A part of that is they tried to do their own High Noon play, which got Mir. High Noon played better, quite nicely. And then they invested their Blizzard after Nos invested his Blizzard. I don't think Nos's Blizzard should have come out. You could justify Speedily's Blizzard with a no, we're trying to get back into this. After Speedily's Blizzard came out, Nos could have come out, but that's not the order they came in. What?
And now Revival has sent them back to their own.
Okay. Icy's throwing this in. Is the team really ready to push? I don't love this. I don't love this because we haven't gotten any resources out of American Tornado yet, so this isn't going to get them, and our team isn't close enough to run them over, even if Revival was close enough to run American Tornado over during the self-destruct, if they turned to protect from the self-destruct or walled off the self-destruct. Like, they still have too many resources to answer the self-destruct with. So unless the idea is we're self-destructing to get their defensive resources like Amp, like Wall, like Ryan Shield out of them, and then we're using this as an opening ult, and then we're going to follow up with the window and be like, yep, now you're stuck. That I could live with, but it's honestly not my favorite. I don't like to be like, we're going to use one ult to get cooldowns and we're going to use one ult to finish you. I'd rather you go, we're going to use one ult to get cooldowns and then we're going to run you over with our cooldowns, or we're going to use one cooldowns to get your cooldowns and then we're going to run you over with an ult. That's preferable, of course. It's less ult investment, and it's what you should be generally practicing. Like, that is your fundamentals of Overwatch. That's a skill that is better to drill because you can do it more often than you can practice your specific ult stuff. And you don't want ults stopped by cooldowns because that's cheaper to do, and you don't have such an ult advantage right now that you can just count on being able to do that and them not answering any of your cooldowns or ults with, ults. In other words, this isn't a particularly strong initiation. I think this is fine from OG. OG is just going to counter with beat and speed amp would be my guess, and that is going to lead us in a situation of they get to run on top of you with their amp. You weren't doing a particularly good job of running on top of them with your self-destruct, and sure enough, we've already got lamp out. Why do we already have lamp out? Pascal, you were awfully quick on the draw with that. There's your window. No, Pascal. That's got to be a lamp as a firing platform. I'm afraid that's a lamp as a firing platform for a personal window. No, it's not a totally personal window. I want to see it, but it looks like McCree has it too. No, that was an okay window. Not an amazing lamp though.
And that leaves Icy out of this fight as well as Cloudy. That means the tank lineup is...
So you guys saw their plan, I think, was to go let's self-destruct and then window. Self-destruct to get some cooldowns, then window to do it. But it wasn't like American Tornado didn't have any ults of their own. So they went, oh, you threw an ineffective self-destruct at us? We're going to run from the self-destruct into you. We'll protect ourselves but from the self-destruct by running into you, and we're popping beat in case we take some self-destruct damage, plus we're now on top of you with beat going, and you're not going to be happy. So yeah. Not great. And then it's like, yes, you guys have a window, plus a lamp that you devoted for your offense, but not in like an offensive brawl situation, a enable your backline to shoot hard situation. But again, there's still the beat. They're running forward. The American Tornado still has their wall left to block, say, the window. Not great.
Revival now have finally met their match here with American Tornado for the first time of the map so far, have been able to get back onto this payload.
Great reaction there from American Tornado.
This isn't as strong a defensive spot as second point is. It's a good one, but it's not nearly as strong as second. Because there are still plenty of routes in here. You can go, hey, there's main, even if it's a bit of a trap. There's through here to go up like this. There's through here to go up like this. There's through here to go up and around. Through here to go up out here. Through here to just go straight through. Like, this is much easier to break because there's lanes. Exactly, even if there is pretty good high ground for AT.
And now you see American Tornado up on the high ground, just contesting that. Revival wants to knock them down if they can. Again, putting Seeker into the best possible position.
Okay, so American Tornado is just surrendering the space. But they're surrendering the space knowing that they get a better concave, even if they don't get the high ground. Yeah, they read your ult economy right. They have window, you have nothing because you used 2 ults in an ineffective push last round. Reiner is choosing to stand right in front of the window. I would like Reiner to push forward a tiny bit more because I want Reiner. Reiner can get Fire Strike value throwing something through a window, but mostly Reiner wants to be in front of the window, at least after he's thrown that Fire Strike, and fully in front of the window so that the healing from Pascal is actually amplified by the window. That's what he's looking for. So I hope he pushes forward a tiny bit more.
Revival.
Nope, he backed off for the window. That's overvaluing the Fire Strike, and it's especially overvaluing the window Fire Strike. Like, it's powerful if you can hit it, but I find a lot of Reinhardts do overvalue it a bit, especially when there's a div on the board, and Icy did his job and ate it.
Wants to accomplish.
They're gonna try to rotate past this window. Pascal's living a little dangerously.
I love these rotations, but Cloudy's taking
yep.
so much of that damage.
Yep.
The barrier is gone, getting destroyed, and the follow-up from Reiner right there as well, finding Cloudy, the stun, the...
It was a reasonable push. It was a reasonable response. American Tornado had good ult tracking there. I mean, I assume it was good ult tracking there to let them know that, oh, we can just window like this.
They don't want to utilize too much here because American Tornado have that number advantage on their side. They're just going to keep pressing Revival back towards their spawn.
Are you going to spawn camp? Show us the spawn camp.
Turn, isn't it? Tornado looking a lot better.
Oh, that's not a spawn camp.
In this matchup here on this map, and Icy now, you can see him getting back into his mech. Seeker with the...
Please subscribe Pro Edition. Pro addiction?
Drive
Okay.
while having
Yeah,
one as
subscribing
well.
would be
Everything
great.
kind of matched up a little bit outside of the bomb coming from
If you guys are
False, so
enjoying,
that
please
could be
do
something
like
that
and
they
subscribe.
actually have to use just to get a little bit of a reset.
Okay, so we're going with the high noon here. We're going with high noon from Seeker. Is he with core?
False actually
Wall comes
used to
out.
cancel
Should be able to break the wall pretty quick. There's no reason that the counter high noon. Nope.
here in
Okay,
the
we're on Seeker's this.
Although Seeker still has that.
Dropped too far. Needed to pull the trigger while dropping. Even if you just ended up breaking ice wall
Window
shenanigans,
right here.
that now gets wasted. And you didn't even escape cancel it to hide from them that it had. I mean, you didn't get value out of this.
Wall is actually used to cancel the dead eyes here in the opener.
You get some value, and that value is, hey, we get this. Like, okay, fine. If you want to take your shot at Reiner, take your shot at Reiner. But now this is the worst of basically both worlds, where it looks like he went for his shot, didn't get it, but said draw. He didn't escape cancel it. So the other team knows that he used it if they weren't tracking those 6 seconds perfectly. And teams aren't as amazing as we might like at tracking those those 6 seconds. So it can leave you in situations where teams are asking, like, did he pull, and Seeker let it be known that he pulled there, which is a shame. Let it be known they pulled and didn't get value for the pull.
Just gotta keep that barrier up. Does get the shatter, but he's sandwiched.
Bye.
Unfortunately,
8 HP.
Ryder did not have enough of that support.
Oh, jeez. Okay. So we see the Blizzard comes out from Speedily here. The self-destruct from False knocked him back.
The shatter right there, unfortunately, just not able to find anything, and Cloudy falls through as well. The sound barrier coming alive from left.
This is still messy. I'm not convinced. I'm not at all convinced that Revival has won this.
Cloudy in this fight, and now Revival, they're trying to press his advantage. They do have even numbers.
Okay, that's big.
Now leaving up to a 4v5 instead with Ultraviolet
Yeah.
falling off. American Tornado.
Okay. I don't love that. I don't love that window in the first place.
Revival has now dwindled away, and the whole
and now American Tornado has just High Noon and Beat to play with, and they're playing into Blizzard Shatter. Soon High Noon. Okay.
have now been showing off here.
They do have the much closer spawns. They'll get another fight. It won't be the cleanest fight in the world, but they'll get another fight because Revival has people coming back that are far away too.
Siphon away a lot of that time bank and now have another opportunity here to dive back in as you're seeing Reiner make that swap.
There's the Blizzard. What are you doing, Cloudy? Okay.
And the Blizzard's gonna take care of that immortality field. That just leaves up Revival with Cloudy falling through. That's gonna take a lot of that damage. Icy's gonna be able to build into that Diva Bomb, but
yeah, no shatter value. The respawns were there, and they effectively got their 6v4, 6v5 situation without Revival getting a good tax on them coming out of spawn.
They're gonna kind of waver off right now as Tornado. They have that advantage. They didn't want to try to overextend too much here.
I like this swap as well from Speedily. There's a lot of short angles that he can kind of play from, just surprising Cloudy, putting a little bit more pressure onto that.
Yeah, this is going to be a little hard to push into with the Doomfist. It's a little tough to kite them when you're the attacking team. You would want to usually do your spread out take angles to do your poke. They're now not going to spread out to take angles to do their poke. They're basically going to run it up mid because they don't want to spread out and potentially get caught in a Doomfist fight, in a one-on-one versus the Doomfist type thing. So they're basically going to have to run it up mid stacked with their greater poke, but not hugely greater poke. As they're poking into this team that will be able to take a bit more of a concave, will still lose the poke war, but will lose the war slowly, is playing against, hey, they will be able to use their natural cover out there, and they don't want to push in too hard too fast because that'll let Speedily come in as the team and then let American Tornado push at the same time with their core. This is a bit tough for Revival. Except that they have the ults to just force it. They literally have the ults to just force it, and I didn't realize that. Silly Temporal. Just go force things with Beat, and cover it with Window as your Beat starts to wear down.
And even looking for left, should he try to...
Walk in hard. Okay, we're starting with window. Fine. I don't love that because you haven't pulled them in as much as I'd like.
Go for some setups aggressively.
And Speedly on the Doom.
This was not allowed to happen. A, they were not allowed to lose Cloudy. B, they can't double stack, and in their double stacking still miss saving Cloudy. This is actually why I wanted the beat first. Stack defensives, still lose target, still lose Ryan.
Doomfist now, something else to worry about right here. If you're Revival, the sound barrier doesn't save Cloudy. Speedly falls through, and now we're in an even matchup right
Yeah, even matchup isn't good enough.
here. As Revival, they're trying to rotate a
You went up one, but now Tornado's answering with their own window that they should never have gotten to, or by the time they got to, they should have been down more people than this.
American Tornado want to avoid the Ant Matrix instead, but they've been able to funnel Revival off to the side right here, trying to trade the Deadeye coming in.
They're just trying too hard to force this now. They just invested 2 more ults into a fight that wasn't really finishable. They're being baited.
Finding both tanks of American Tornado. This could do it in here for American Tornado. If they can at least try to keep Speedly alive and Revival, they're gonna have to go for a reset because Revival now they're out of this fight.
A little bit of extra weight.
Staggers, yay!
At the end, Icy
Did not need to be forced yet.
and Pilot Diva form just gets kind of toyed with a little bit. And you'll see
I just call it double defensives. Yeah, it is a double support ult effectively.
American Tornado actually coming into this next fight, ready to go with another ult coming in from Doomfist, which is really important. You got a reset opportunity there. That might allow them to kind of play aggressively with Speedily. He goes for a
So Revival gets a maximum of 2 pushes. And the only thing they've got to play with on this first push is Blizzard. And they're playing into Shatter. They're playing into Doomfist ult. Yeah, they lose.
reset. OG sends it forward. They go
I mean,
for
things could go
another
wrong, but this should be a
instantaneous
pretty
front-loaded
clean American
pressure.
Tornado win for the reasons I explained in the first fight, in terms of it's actually hard to push into the Doomfist situation here.
Try to build up that sound barrier as well.
Oh, that shot
It helps that Shatter didn't get value.
maybe a little bit too anxious right there.
Oh, and they pushed out. Wow.
As well.
Oh,
Instantaneous front-loaded pressure. Try to build up that
Okay.
sound.
So this helps because now that they've come out here like this, they're actually, now that American Tornado has come out here like this, they actually give Revival the opportunity to play towards their neutral win condition, which is we're going to kite you while poking until you're pressured too heavily, or your Doomfist comes in early, or we pressure you heavily enough to make your Doomfist come early. We continue kiting while hard peeling your Doomfist to either eliminate him or force him out, and then we push hard into you and wipe you. And that was going to be very hard when they had to push into here against all this cover, had to do all that, had to push through this choke. That was going to be very hard. It's much easier if Revival, or if American Tornado is willing to come out here and actually push into them and fight them, and in doing so give up their concave.
Barrier as well.
oh, that Shatter maybe a little bit too anxious right
And now they're going to try to finish it. They don't get the finish. Icy doesn't have boosters, so Icy will take some serious mech damage here.
So Reiner, unfortunately,
Not quite as serious mech damage as I thought.
gonna take a lot of that damage. You can see the rotations coming in.
Did the other lamp already get used?
Reiner, unfortunately,
No. So Pascal gets to win this
gonna
with
take a
lamp.
lot of
There's our lamp. Okay. Icy is suspiciously not in the lamp. Icy!
that
Nope. There goes Icy's mech.
damage. You can see the rotations.
And there goes Pascal's lamp down faster. That's unfortunate. They had the later lamp and it still went down faster, and it's not like American Tornado's lamp is in an extremely safe spot or anything.
Coming in from
So that again is probably a focus fire issue, but I should check before I just say that.
As well.
oh, that Shatter maybe a little bit too anxious right
They use slam
there,
defensively.
though. Reiner,
Have the ice block here. There is that lamp. they're pushed hard enough right now, but it's not like American Tornado is in amazing shape, even though Icy is in trouble. I'm surprised that this frisbee isn't deeper. Is this just an aim issue? Was the frisbee really necessary for...
Unfortunately,
Seeker looks fine to me.
take a lot of that.
I'm not convinced that that lamp is just too shallow of a throw. Yeah, Cloudy's not in danger. I think that lamp throw is just too shallow. Pascal probably wanted that to go deeper. That has to be the case. We can't see everything. It's possible there's something really scary up there, but I'm just not that scared for my full health McCree, who never lost any health, or my Reinhardt, who, yes, is stunned, but again is full health. I think that throw just wasn't deep enough. Okay.
Damage. You can see the
Yeah, they didn't have a great chance to destroy American Tornado's lamp, so that's fine, but I do think that it
rotations coming
didn't get in deep
from
enough
Revival
with
pressing forward.
Pascal's lamp. Did Pascal have a place to throw the lamp from where he was? Let me look at when he actually threw it. Threw it. Yeah, Pascal's right there.
Take a lot of that damage. You can see the rotations coming in from Revival pressing.
Yeah, he peeks to throw this. He just doesn't throw it deep enough. Okay.
Unfortunately, though, because they'll have that blizzard at the ready to try to buy in some of that space. Well,
Okay. Yeah, sure.
as
Sure, false.
well,
Just beat up on the McCree while you have sound barrier health. That's fair.
pressing their
I mean, he should obviously do it.
advantage. They're going to be able to keep pressing on Revival, though, and that time bank is taking away Curix. Less than 20 seconds on board.
Is Doom better than Mei here because it's defense or because it's the map geometry? I'm not even sure I'm willing to concede that Doomfist is better than Mei. I think here, I'm not even sure I'm willing to concede that, but I might. Yeah, what's giving Doomfist upticks that he doesn't usually have is that they're at the end of the map, and that the geometry at the end of the map here is such that defenders have some pretty good geometry to spread out around pillar-wise and individually hide behind. Like, you get some pretty good defensive spreads that you can do there. While the attacking team against the Doomfist is going to want to stay somewhat stacked and kind of push through one route, which is not how you would usually attack third. And because they sort of want to stay somewhat stacked so that they can adequately peel the Doomfist, that's going to put them in a situation where they should usually win the poke war pretty meaningfully with McCree Mei versus McCree Doomfist. They don't necessarily win it meaningfully, because, again, there's that good split cover all over there for the defenders, and the defenders don't have to constantly try to push in because they're sort of getting a poke advantage by the map geometry, if that makes sense. So I guess, yes, to answer the question, it's map geometry.
To get this payload to the finish line.
And there you saw it as well, that front-loaded pressure, that dive in that we talked about, literally rushing in at Revival. Try to get that sound barrier online. Fortunately, though, for Revival, they have a big window of opportunity.
Which isn't to say it's unbeatable. Like, and that's not to say that I'm still sold that the Doomfist is better, though it might be in this situation. You can do some stuff where you still go, okay, instead of pushing main, maybe we'll rotate in through left, or we'll fake rotate left and then go main, or go right and then double back with speed amp to go main, or something like that to change how they're set and then be able to squish them well and them not be set appropriately to actually push into you and fight you when you push in that direction that they weren't ready for. You could probably beat it with fake rotations. Yeah.
Opportunity here. Wub is going to try to push them back, but the Deadeyes down. Now they have to just sprint forward.
Yeah, just buying some of that time and
Okay.
that space, and unfortunately, Revival, they could not get back.
Okay, that was a lot of time. They got through second quite quickly, but they couldn't finish off third there, so they couldn't figure it out. Part of it was, I really did not like that. Well, we're just going to win with these two ults thing, when it's like, excuse me? You guys think window and self-destruct are just going to win this with nothing else to your plan? That wasn't very good. And then they were a little behind, It's not like that was huge. That was everything. That didn't cost them 3 minutes, but that certainly made things harder.
Pop-up penetration plays. Wub now getting integrated probably a little bit as
And then, you know, American Tornado had the good decision, I think. I think that Doomfist pick was pretty good for them there.
But to get with that stop, really maker is something that I've really been excited.
Wub has been able to add on to American Tornado, although I definitely see Seeker trying to take that MVP spotlight, especially with the way he's been able to perform so far on this map. But you're going to see the rotation.
So Revival thinks it was an error in execution from American Tornado, not an error in strategy. Maybe they'll do it better.
I like the way that Revival's positioning themselves, trying to replicate that of American Tornado, but
Trying to replicate the failure of American Tornado?
both of the tank lineups are actually going to be able to hold forward a little bit, and they're wasting no time. They immediately knew where to rotate. They knew exactly where Revival was going to hang out in, and it's just absolutely chaotic coming out of the spawn doors. Seeker finds Wub, and right now Revival has that number advantage on their side. American Tornado, they're dwindling. They lost 3 members, and False is going to meet their maker right back.
So the hold is effectively broken because American Tornado is going to be able to re-push with 6 faster than the, 2 people that Revival lost will get back. So that is meaningful. This hold is effectively broken, but that was a poor execution of breaking the hold. They were like, aha, we know where you are. Let's, because we know where you are, you aren't surprising us, and this is great. Like, we know exactly where you are, so we're going to go like this and immediately go and do this. This isn't better. This isn't better, guys. If you immediately send your tanks and everything into here, well, your McCree is struggling to help you when you're all the way deep over there. The tanks are going to... Their Revival's tanks are going to join them over here, and the contribution from Wub, who is basically the only one doing this correctly, is minimized by you letting Revival bait you into taking the fight over here. And maybe they didn't bait them. Maybe this wasn't bait. Maybe American Tornado made this poor decision all by themselves, but this was a poor decision because now this strong concave high ground isn't really getting taken advantage of. We have our lone hit scan over here by himself acting outside of his effective range, and our BAP, who was here, has dropped down and is now playing like over here, where it's like, oh wait, shoot, there's threats of other tanks over there, and he's either going to jump up over here or he's going to be here, which will be a little better for contributing when the tanks go over here. Let's actually see what he does.
And they're wasting no time.
Okay, Ultraviolet is trying to push in to help more, but that could have gone bad because Ultraviolet Icy could have went and just been like, nah, I'm not going to let you, Ultraviolet. Wouldn't have been the end of the world if Icy did that, but like this isn't amazing. And now we've had Wub drop to try to join this, but this wasn't some great big brain play of, aha, we've surprised you. This is more like we're taking this fight out of our backline sight lines? Maybe not.
And it's just absolutely chaotic coming out of the spawn doors. Seeker finds Wub, and right now Revival has that number advantage on their side. American Tornado, they're dwindling. They lost 3 members, and False is gonna meet their maker right back into the spawn. And right now with Revival holding on to this defense, they're looking a lot stronger compared to the defense that we had seen from the floodgates from American Tornado.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time though before American Tornado uses that spawn advantage and just takes over, and there you go. Finally they get to send it across, but a lot of time again off the clock, and this is where Revival, they get let back up, they just speed boost back into the fight.
Let's see if Revival is able to do this better. Oh, so Revival got a little more time off the clock, but let's see if Revival is actually able to get a third defensive stop out of this.
Take 3 different fights across this entire first stage of the map.
They're about 2 seconds ahead of where American Tornado was in terms of, not in terms of the clock, but in terms of their rotate back speed.
You see the way that Revival is just coming right back in, gets that speed boost coming in from left, the wall coming alive.
Much better executed.
See the way that Revival is just...
We have a wider angle to see it this time, but they are likely to actually get their third fight, and the reason that they're going to get their third fight is because Lep knows that they actually have to stop the cart. As this little trade is happening over here, well, as this trade is happening over here with May walls and windows and shatters, Lep understands that during this fight, this cart cannot be allowed to move. Because if Revival loses this fight, which is totally a very real possibility because they just had to rotate through a bunch of open space and do a little bit of it without speed, if they lose this fight, then they are going to, if this cart moves to like here while they lose this fight or here, they won't get another stop. And unless someone from Revival's team goes deep to stop the cart, that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, if Revival wins this fight, it's going to matter less because the cart will start to roll back a little bit. And if the cart rolls back a bit, yes, it would get to a place where then they'll get, even if they lose the next fight, they'd get a third fight. But like this is important. This is correct if you're going for the 3 cart stop.
Alive to negate that matrix, and the shatter coming in from Cloudy. Big shatter at that here, and a great follow-up. It's gonna take care of OG and Wub.
Cloudy?
Big shatter at that here, and a great
Fine.
follow-up. It's gonna take
I'm
care
good with this.
of OG and
I'm even good with this, but you should already be shielding.
that just leaves Ultraviolet.
He was going to go down anyways,
who's
but
gonna
still.
meet the rest of American Tornado in the spawn, and now this is looking a lot better here on the defense for Revival because they've been able to send back American Tornado, and they're going to be able to control this payload by this choke.
Yeah, and that means that they also get to send it back a little bit, which gives them more room to take that last fight before point A as well.
They don't really send it back. It rolls back on its own, but close enough.
Come a lot. Certainly one of those players that
Oh, okay. We've just missed the opening of this fight. Okay. I wonder... This is not as amazing as you think. It's not. It's not.
could easily find his way up into the league at some point this year or next.
Who can easily find the way?
Find his way. Who could just kind of fight before point A as well. See a little pop off at the moment from Icy, who just kind of has come a lot. Certainly one of those players that could easily find his way up into the league.
No. Icy is not the player in this lobby who is most likely to find his way into the league, and I know those aren't the words that he said, but
at some point this year or next.
Oh, next. Okay, next is a fair amount of time. From now. It is March of 2020. Next year is a fair amount of time in a player's development. So okay, that's fine.
Certainly keep your eye on him across the series.
Yeah, I see as well having that Diva Bomb. You like the ultimate economy coming in from Revival.
Okay, let's look at our defensive hold positions a bit better here. I'm too annoyed over our... We've used 2 directional threat ults in a row to not get any real value here. So, like, we look at this. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, here we are. So we're doing this. This happened. We're watching replays. Give me the real thing. We have both of these ults being used at the same time. I don't think they zoned some ult from the other team.
Could easily find his way up into the league at some point this year or next. Certainly keep your eye on him across the series.
So basically, American Tornado was like, yes, we will happily trade you 7 seconds to waste both your high noon and your window. And I agree, that's a pretty good trade. Let's not stack our window and our stack window. Let's not stack our window and our high noon. If you are going to stack those ults, which is actually okay with me if you stack them, but it's not okay with me if you stack them like that. It is okay with me if you go, hey, we are going to, for example, a powerful move would be we are going to high noon from you from back here while we window you from here. That's excessively powerful. My window's way too small, but that's the idea. Or you could get something, this is less crazy, where you are going to high noon from here while you window from here type thing. Now, this isn't the best place, but the point that I'm illustrating is it's totally fine to go, hey, our window threatens these sight lines, and our high noon threatens some of the same sight lines, but also threatens some of the places that they might like to run to, like around that wall. They're going to use their wall in this direction to protect themselves. They're going to run around this wall, and then this wall isn't protecting them from the window. This wall isn't protecting them. This wall that they run around, so the May wall that they put up to protect from the window, isn't protecting them from the high noon. The physical wall that they run around from the window isn't protecting them from the high noon. The DM that they use to block out the window isn't protecting them from the high noon. Or if they go up over here and use their DM to block out the McCree, that DM is not blocking them from the window. That's how we prefer to use these things. If we're going to stack our zone ults like that, we want to make sure they're stacked in such a way that they're threatening spaces, that they're threatening different spaces, that one of them is threatening spaces that they might like, that the defending team, the team that has to be worried about the ult, might like to run to, and that a single object, defense matrix, a wall, etc., isn't blocking both of them.
Next, certainly keep your eye on him across the series.
Yeah, Icy as well, having that D.Va bomb. You like the ultimate.
Okay, you're going in here. False just opening with a self-destruct.
Yeah, Icy as well.
This is the same thing that Icy did before. Icy did back on third that I didn't like. That said, American Tornado is a lot closer to Revival as they're doing this, and if American Tornado pushes for real during this, I'll be more okay with it.
Like the ultimate economy coming in from Revival. And to match that, though, you still have False with the
Sort of. They sort of pushed during it. They sort of got zoned out by the mail, but they sort of willed themselves to get zoned out by the mail to then push through it.
D.Va bomb. They do trade Wub and Cloudy right here, though. Meteor Strike coming up alive.
I mean, it was better. They did then invest more ults, but it's okay because, you know, they were fighting against a blizzard there.
And I love the follow
Yeah, that was better.
coming in.
They did more while their self-destruct was going on. They used the fact that the self-destruct broke up the defending team better.
From Speedly, this is exactly what we were talking about when we saw some of these changes within that first round. Wub is going to be able to come right back in, and Revival right now. Let's get a little bit of that replay coming in from Speedly. Be able to get that follow-up with the Meteor Strike D-Mech, the D.Va right here, send Icy all the way back. And this is the momentum that American Tornado has been able to build up for himself. If Revival could try to contest right here, the wall going to stop them, though. Wub does find a
I need to see that.
send Icy all the way.
So, we're here. They should actually get their third hold. We've talked about why they should get their third
This
hold,
is the momentum that American Tornado has been able to build up for himself. If
but it's still potentially going to be a just barely thing. Did they let the cart move too much?
Test
Oh, it's really a just barely thing.
here,
Yeah.
the wall gonna
So this happens. They might have potentially gotten this, but then this high noon is going to zone them. And of course he's going to pull that because the defense matrix isn't on him.
does
Yeah.
find a way through the cracks.
So that could have been oh, okay. So that would have been a third point hold. The cart's sort of being held as they're doing this fight.
Out and about from Revival, caught sleeping.
But you can tell it's a very narrow thing to the point at which, like, I just don't think it's worth basically throwing the first fight and not almost having to, but giving yourself like a 10% disadvantage at the second fight where you're just running back through a bunch of open space to take it a second time. I don't think it's worth doing. Revival did execute it better, though American Tornado threw the first fight harder. Revival did execute it better, but I still just don't think it's worth.
With the Deadeye, and now it's a matter of just breaking these barriers and stopping Revival short, forcing out the sound barrier so that way they can keep up this momentum to allow the rest of American Tornado to pull all the way up after they
Okay.
get the second point.
Please go take good high ground second
Getting
control.
that cooldown
American
output is
Tornado.
incredibly important because that
Who are you
means
guys
that-
pushing cart
that
with?
Lep
Who are you
only
pushing
at
cart with?
40%, things kind of reset in that department. They can take another aggressive.
OG is up here, fine.
to Get back together again, and American Tornado, they're
You're double pushing cart with, that's got to be ultraviolet and Reinhardt. Reinhardt's not really double pushing cart.
At
Okay.
least yet opting for that
Fine. This is
high
fine.
ground.
These two can go back up to join them. No
You see
problem.
Reiner now getting back up.
And you
and
see that they're
he's
going
the
up here, and they think it's
getting that
important. Reiner, on the other hand, is late because he went down in that fight.
Eva could come up with the boost.
And this is almost even. This is almost even. I would say that, like, this is almost even in terms of neither of them really got great high ground control before this started. So this will call a coin flip.
Still could get involved as well. So they
It's a little more favorable for Revival because as this is happening, we're having to not really spend resources, but our supports are having to join from the cart, and the supports having to join from the cart isn't as safe a place for them as Lep and Pascal get to play from. Lep and Pascal won't actually play from out here because that's too wall vulnerable. They'll go in, but they'll be a little safer back here where they're hard to get at than OG and Ultraviolet, who are basically going to have to jump and wall ride right sort of into like here-ish based on where the card is, unless they spend time going back and go up here, and it's sort of too late for that. So very slight edge positionally based on how this high ground works out to Revival here. And when we look at our ults, we have ourselves one of those, Window Self-Destruct and Meteor Strike playing into Shatter, which is not a terribly high value ult up here on these narrow pathways, and Windows close. Okay. That would give American Tornado. That more than makes up for the difference in where they are, but let's see what happens. And Lep is spending beat here, and they're not missing health, so he's got to be, and he's on speed. So Lep is spending beat for his team to run at them hard right now, and I'm not quite sure why.
They should be able to get a six.
Because they're confident that they can hit a wall and go do this and force them to drop. Yeah, that's solid. That's solid.
Man fight here.
Nos dropped, but I'm not worried about Nos. Nos only has Ice Block, doesn't have wall to protect himself with anymore, but Revival very favorably traded out up here, and that Shatter, that's not a Shatter on the ground. What is that on the ground? Oh, that's a Doomfist Slam. Yeah, I'm very happy with Revival's situation right now.
They say they're taking
I wouldn't have dropped quite yet, Cloudy, but okay.
in close quarters right here. You want to be wary because Nos is going to be able to get that blizzard.
It's almost like there's a reason I wouldn't have dropped quite yet. Why does Nos go down? You go for that Shatter. Nos gets stunned before the Ice Block goes off. Ooh! Nos gets caught by a pin? That shouldn't have happened. Okay.
Nos is going to be able to get that blizzard, but not anymore. They shut him down as well as Cloudy. OG's gone, but that's fine. They still have Ultraviolet right there. They have the Immortality field, and they have that number advantage on their side. They use the Ant Matrix, and Seeker doesn't win the 1v1 fight, but it's okay. He wants to go for the reset right here.
Yeah, so I don't think the block got used there. I don't think the lamp got thrown there, which, let's take a look. Let's take one more look at that. We're here. I haven't seen lamp go out yet. Now you shouldn't need the lamp to save Nos. Nos shouldn't have gotten caught by the pin. Should have ice blocked. But you should still be throwing this rather than losing Cloudy. Losing Cloudy here. What are you really losing Cloudy to? That's a double assist. It's a double assist. So amp from Lep plus. What's going to give you assist credit there? Not just heals, you would have to do more than that. What did you do to get assist credit? Huh. Okay. I don't know what boosted down Cloudy quite that fast. Oh, Ultraviolet has a window going. That would do it. Ultraviolet's window is what boosted down Cloudy so quickly. Okay. Yeah, I'd have liked our lamp.
But not anymore. They shut him down as well as Cloudy. OG's gone, but that's fine. They still have Ultraviolet right there. They have the Immortality field, and they have
Good
that
peel
number
there,
advantage
but
on their side.
he's just going to cart.
Seeker doesn't win the 1v1 fight, but it's okay. He wants to go for the reset right here. American Tornado now. They're inching forward on this payload.
Now it's just a matter of time before Revival get back into position here. American Tornado have Speedily still on that Doomfist, but this section can be very dangerous. If they're looking out for Speedily, Revival can kill him quite easily by just falling.
1 second. My apologies for that.
back, baiting him in and getting that quick kill.
I like this rotation option too, coming in from Revival.
They really like the self-destruct initiation.
Getting that quick kill.
It's a good angle.
This rotation
They can follow up on it. They're on speed.
too, coming in
Yeah, okay.
from
That's
Revival.
solid.
They want that high ground, but
And then they do get the lamp and a limb off of it, so good stuff.
beware of the Diva Bomb, and False still finds Seeker on the back, and you already see that's the cue for American Tornado to dive right in.
And again, their self-destruct initiation is when they're close. It's a lot better and more powerful, and they're actually running more forward during it, much more forward momentum during their self-destruct initiation than the one we saw out of Revival earlier.
And speedily, and Wub wastes absolutely no time. You can already see Wub uncontested on that high ground. Unfortunately for Cloudy, there was nowhere for him to go. You already saw the rest of American Tornado funneling into that side room and getting a quick little stagger onto Icy.
Getting closer and closer now, though, to the end of this map where things become a lot more difficult. This final archway that you see Speedily kind of looking at right now is going to be incredibly difficult for Tornado to actually move through that section there, especially given the fact that they have to get Speedily into position. Otherwise, he's just kind of chopping people into that side wall.
Oh, Speedily! All right. I love the patience, too. The formation from Speedily right there, he waited perfect timing on that Deadeye. Just a
I need to go back and see some more of that. That's what I get for taking notes.
American Tornado funneling into that side room and getting a quick little stagger onto Icy.
Okay.
Closer and closer now, though, to the end of this map where things become
Here
a
we
lot more
are.
difficult. This final archway that you see Speedily kind of looking at right now is going to be incredibly difficult for Tornado to actually move through that section there, especially given the fact that they have to get Speedily into position.
Okay, so Revival, this comp is not nearly as good. American Tornado's comp at pushing into this as it was at holding. Now, they've been getting fine value out of Speedily on the Doomfist, so it's not like that's been some great problem. But Revival should be looking to play this standard, should be looking to kite this. They have room to kite this. They have good positioning to kite this. They just need to go, no, we're not going to let your front line and your Doomfist come in at the same time. Take your pick, one or the other, and we'll happily deal with it. And if you try to push both, we're going to kite your front line while we force your Doomfist out or eliminate him. That's all they're looking to do. And unlike, last time when False could throw in the self-destruct, which was an extra threat behind them that made kiting a problem, and just let them get run over, they don't have that now. So this shouldn't be any problem making a hold, at least for this next fight.
Otherwise, he's just kind of chopping people into that side.
Seeker's one for thy noon. That's not allowed to happen.
Speedily into position. Otherwise, he's just kind of chopping people into that side
That's not allowed to happen.
wall.
Just barely clipped the wall there. Bounces off of it, etc. Yeah, so I mean, I can complain that, hey, we should probably have a situation where Cloudy is ready to take that on the face rather than it happen. I can complain that, hey, Icy should be ready to take that on the side rather than let that happen. I could complain that, even yeah, those are the real things there, but that's okay. We'll let that be an outplay.
Oh, Speedily! All right. I love the patience, too.
But again, there wasn't a need for Revival to affirmatively take that fight with ults because, again, you don't necessarily want to use ults to change your win condition, which is sort of what they're doing with this we're pushing out with our high noon, etc. You don't necessarily want to be doing that. You were still in a we can posture a little more defensively. We can make this setup where you can't push into us. Because, again, Speedily was able to push in, and his team was right there with him, able to push in. Now, in that case, would it have mattered? No, it probably wouldn't have. On the other hand, they might have been able to trade back. If Speedily had to do that, not from his own team, but on a flank, if Speedily had to do that when his team was further away, he potentially gets traded back out. At least there's a more real possibility of that. So again, you're looking to generally keep a little more distance between the two teams. If you're Revival, then they did there.
From Speedily right there, he waited perfect timing on that Deadeye just to dive right in and shut down Steeker. Now with the Meteor Strike and that quick reset, to be wary, the sound barriers
Okay.
on board, but he wants to try to ice.
Yeah, that's not going to work while Pascal is the barrier.
Overextend, is able to get right back to the rest of American Tornado, and this is the change that I love to see from American Tornado. They're going to be able to round this corner and already taking care of Seeker again. This man's just got to see the
What do we have ult-wise for what could be the final fight here? We are looking at Shatter for Revival. That's their only ult to try and hold with, and they're playing into Shatter, High Noon, and Beat. That is going to be rough. That said, there's still enough. They can still play their standard neutral win condition, and it can still beat this. None of the ults that American Tornado has fundamentally changed things other than the fact that they can have Wub stay in the back for a High Noon as they're trying to kite. That would be a little bit tough if, that happens while their team is pushing, doing their Doomfist push, etc. But they can do this.
And he got set right back to the spawn.
I love it too, congesting the chokes as well. Those spawn doors are going to be so much more difficult to get through, and that's
shouldn't be
important because now they.
There's the High Noon, of course, being used early to zone. Good.
Now, we talked about being so
you called the draw. You called the. You cancel out of these so that the draw doesn't get called, guys.
tough.
Talking about creating that.
Okay. You have to push in because you're at 0.25 meters, which means you lose. Yeah. Well, that sucks. They basically need to play for a sneaky play right now. Like maybe they go for Lep hits a boop. Icy certainly can't. Maybe Lep hits a boop and they hit a sneaky shatter off of it or something. Maybe they get some sort of flashbang shatter, but they're going to have a real tough time staying in this.
Space right there.
There's the beat, which... It's an ult tracking failure. You should have known that that was their only real tool, and that was the only thing you had to do, Reiner, was not get shattered. You don't lose because OG already got beat off, but literally the only thing you had to do was make sure your team didn't get shattered.
He gets stunned first, so the shatter utilized first coming forward. Cloudy now wants to press.
And now you're gonna shatter, and you get it.
Bigger shatter coming in from Reiner here, and now being able to trade OG Ultraviolet.
Doesn't matter.
They've lost.
Okay, so we saw that. That is interesting that we saw that. We could certainly go through this. I am probably not going to the third map. My understanding is that these are first to 3, which is certainly interesting. I'm not going to do the third map here. We just saw American Tornado take 2 maps, and they do look like the better team. In terms of things that I saw from American Tornado that I want to be critical of, there certainly was target swapping. I'll say there was some target swap issues there off of the ice block. We saw that from Hydron. We saw Reiner leave his team behind. I'd say in general, Reiner was a little too happy to leave his team behind to go do things, but we especially saw that with the Shatter back on, what was that, Night Market. A lot of other stuff I could say about them was stuff that I liked. I liked the early boot play in that first neutral. I did like their self-destruct initiations. They did have some over-ult investment. They had over-ult investments a couple times, actually. So that is something that I could be more critical of if I'm being critical of that team. Revival, bigger list of issues. They had some target focus issues on the lamp, where lamps tended to survive longer than they should. We saw it at the end of third here. That one wasn't egregious by any means, though their lamp certainly, America Tornado's lamp did survive a fair amount of time, though we correctly pointed out why it was a struggle there. But we saw other times where that was an issue as well, like when Mei was trying to freeze Ryan instead of breaking the lamp that would let her McCree High Noon win the point back on Garden, for example, on Lijiang Tower. We had the Icy, some bad DM scouting where he was just wasting DM there. We had slow target swaps off of the ice block for him as well. We saw the team really didn't soften up that sim comp on Night Market whatsoever, which it was a bit of a problem. Nor did they stabilize in that fight after they went up one, which, that's certainly something we could be disappointed in. That Cloudy just doesn't know Cloudy just doesn't necessarily know what stabilize means. He likes his sub 200 health fire strikes. And then we had some ult usage by them, not just over ult usage, but ult usage while they were up, like blizzards when they're effectively up by 2, shatters when they're up by 3 from revival. Ult issues on both sides in terms of over investments. But for AT, at least it was, hey, we're still trying to win this fight. We're still trying to do stuff. The fight is still close, or we're stalling the fight. Whereas Revivals, I'm going to be more critical of because it was we're effectively up by 2, we're doing an ult. We're up by 3, and we're doing an ult type stuff I didn't like. I do think that there's some room to work on Pascal's windows. Pascal likes windows, from what I could tell, that are for him or for his backline, and those are perfectly fine lamps. Pascal's windows aren't what I was complaining about. He does like those backline lamps when he's windowing, which, okay, that has some value certainly. I'm not totally outruling those, but we had a little bit of late deployment on some windows where, like, for example, just remembering off the top of my head, we had on second point, the lamp never came out. Yes, that Reinhardt got burst down fast. Yes, that Mei should have ice blocked to save herself, but or no, am I backwards? No, I'm correct. It was them there defending, where we still should have gotten a lamp out. We in general, I wasn't thrilled with the lamp play that I was seeing for either team, but I am going to be critical of Pascal there. We saw the defensive stack and still lose Ryan in another situation where it was Pascal and Lep both used beat and window that was on third the other direction, and they still lost their Reinhardt. Can't be letting that happen. That has to be better coordinated, and it can't happen. And then we had the one where Pascal didn't throw his lamp deep enough on third in what I believe was the other direction. It's all running together at this point. And then we had Revival stacking their window and High Noon multiple times, which I'm just not a fan of. That's not how you use it, but I actually believe that American Tornado did that as well, so I should probably dock points for them there as well. So yeah, American Tornado looks like the better team. That's not in really question. That shouldn't really be a shocker to anyone. That said, Revival, I do like what I'm seeing here. This looks like a reasonable enough team. Hopefully it can grow and evolve some more. I think this team just formed for trials and hasn't been together for that long. So, that's good stuff here. There's certainly both teams could be working on. Do we have questions from people? Anything that you guys want me to answer? If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe. That really helps me out, and I really do appreciate it. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, see what sort of promos, events we have going on, all that good stuff. Is that the real Aspen in chat above? No, didn't realize there was a player with the name, causes confusion. I mean, you don't need to change your name just because someone else has the name. That's not really a big deal. If people want to know, I think they can click through and see that your channel is not the same as Aspen's channel. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Okay, my thoughts on Revival's potential. I think I just answered that, but I think I've been streaming long enough, and I'm streaming while running a video, so my timer's probably got a little more latency delay than I'd like. That tends to happen as streams go long while also watching a stream. I think Revival's got some real potential here. I don't think they'll be winning this tournament. I don't necessarily think I wouldn't expect them to win the next tournament either, but I did like stuff that I saw here. I was liking what I was seeing out of Seeker. I think Seeker was playing quite well. I did like what I was getting out of Seeker on Revival. Cloudy's good. It's hard for me to object to the concept that Cloudy is good. Like, Cloudy is good. I think there are some aggression control things to be worked in there. Some of this, oh, I'm going to, with low health, go for fire strikes, things like that. Oh, I should stabilize. My team is up one. Gotta perfectly balance on that knife's edge, aggression versus protectiveness on Reinhardt. And he's definitely on the more aggressive side, but he usually keeps that balanced. I think it was a little off balance today. And not like wildly off balance, but a little too off balance this time. And I thought Nos did solid as well. Yeah, I think there's potential on this team. I don't want to like pick everyone, and I don't want to like leave people in. I don't want to then like pick 5 and leave someone out either. But yeah, I was happy enough with what I saw from this team. Again, I don't think any of us really expected them to upset American Tornado here, but I could see them being a good team that doesn't, that over the course of the season goes, hey, we, progressively places higher and then becomes. I don't think the number 3 slot is very locked in NA, for example, and I think there's a big enough gap between the number 1 and the number 2 slot in NA that there's also room to work in there. So could Revival potentially work their way up? Sure, not impossible. I think, again, this team got together very fresh. I would need to see some of these players get a bit better before I could believe seeing this team as like a number 2 or a number 3. I would need to see some of these players make individual improvements, if I'm being honest, not just team play improvements, but that's not out of the question. I think resources could be spent, coaching could be spent to help make that happen. I've worked with some of the players on both of these teams, and I have enough of a feel of some of these players to be like, yeah, I think that could happen. Yeah. Ooh, okay. Weakest link and strongest link in each NA contenders team. In each NA contenders team, I'm not doing that right now. I'm not going through every single NA contenders team. Do I want to go through the 2 in front of me? No, I don't think I do. I don't think I want to do that right now because I think I want to see more out of Revival. This is the only Revival match I've seen before I'm willing to make a comment on them. And American Tornado, sure, I'd be able to comment on them. But no, I'm not going to do that. Sorry, Tom Joe. Okay, I think that's going to do it for now. Again, if you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Really do appreciate that. If you are looking to get coaching yourself, join my Discord in the description below. See rates, all that jazz. See what sort of community we have going on. Participate in events. Maybe let me know what matches you would like reviewed, because this week I did 2 matches, both in A so far. I did one yesterday, one today. Certainly happy to do EU stuff. Certainly happy to do Korea stuff. But you guys gotta let me know what you want. Help steer me. Ultimately, what I want is gonna have disproportionate influence, but I am steerable. I don't always have strong opinions. Okay, and that's gonna do it. Thanks, guys. Temporal out.